Record now.
Alright,
Yeah, because that's a great topic to start with.
No, you guys are gonna need to hear my evidence.
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Is
hey,
Peach-
everybody.
Okay,
Is Peach married to somebody other than Bowser or Mario? Because in Super Mario Odyssey, which is clearly an allegory for Homer's The Odyssey, at the end, both Mario and Bowser are attempting to propose her to get married. Fuck. Much like all the suitors in Penelope. Yeah. Much like all the suitors in Penelope. So, the fact that they get rejected stands to reason that there is an Odysseus on his own Odyssey
It's
to get back to
Luigi!
his wife, Princess
I was
Peach.
gonna say, Ish. His name is Luigi. Give him the
No,
respect he
Luigi
deserves.
has somebody else. Luigi
Oh,
in
come
this
on, we're
case-
basing this off a Greek tale.
No.
You telling me he can't fuck more people?
Yeah.
No, Luigi in this case is going to be stabbed by his wife for sacrificing their daughter to the wind god to get their army over to Troy.
Oof,
Daisy,
that's
why would
fucked.
you do that?
Would you fucking not?
Okay, so that actually brings me to a thing that I wanted to talk about before we get into today's main topic, and it's that Keegan and I actually came up with a thing where it's like Mario isn't just an asshole and Luigi is like the breadwinner of that house, where it's like he doesn't win that mansion
Game
in a
Theory beat you
contest.
to that like 10 years ago.
What?
Game Theory beat you to that 10 years ago.
Fuck.
Yeah, but
I'm
people-
sorry,
like
we're-
Luigi-
and
the
I
only one
do
with
not
any
want to
plumbing
give
skills.
Game Theory any credit, but Game Theory beat you to that.
No, because
Also-
our meme was like, oh, he has the mansion, and it's like, he didn't actually win that in a contest. It's not a trap. He financed that himself through hard work, and King Boo was just like, I can fuck
Well,
with
no.
Luigi like
In
this.
the mansion, he found billions and billions.
That's
and
fair.
also, I would like to point out how he's the only one that displays any plumbing skills.
Yes, that's true.
Maybe
Yeah, 'cause-
Mario's just like the front guy.
So I'd like to think that Luigi, like, in his diary in Paper Mario, there's pages that we don't get to read where it's like, oh, fuck, Mario went off to save the princess again, and now I
I
have
like
to
to
run
think
our
that
plumbing
Mario
business.
was just
So,
a
you
freak
guys know
badass
the,
at adventuring.
Just
But he was terrible at
say,
plumbing.
do you
Yeah.
guys know like the fake game titles? Like what was it some like the ones that are just memes about the crimes?
Super Mario Caucasity?
No.
What?
The one I saw was Yoshi's Island of Tax Evasion is one.
Yeah, Yoshi commits tax
The
evasion.
one that I want is Super Mario Front for the Italian Mafia.
That's pretty good. So my favorite thing about the
Brother
Yoshi's
Luigi's
tax
gonna
evasion,
come over and break your legs.
so the best part of Yoshi's tax evasion is that we have a second one where Kirby does his taxes because he's a good boy.
Yep.
So
He's
shall
also
we get on
calling the fucking police.
Yeah. So shall we do the main topic, or did you guys
so
want to
anyway,
get that article
welcome
out
to
of the
the
way?
Zelda. So anyway, welcome to the
Yeah,
Zelda
guys.
podcast.
Didn't
Zelda.
see you there.
Surprise
In
mechanic.
the universe of the Mario Iliad, clearly the Zelda people are the Trojans.
Yeah.
Oh, without doubt.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Should we then go ahead and knock out the other topic real quick?
Yeah, let's
'Cause-
not
No,
get the
no,
other.
We
Well,
were.
we can
What
save
was
it
the
till
other
the end.
topic?
We can save it till the end.
Okay.
Oh, say
Either one.
Ish! It's a surprise.
Yeah.
Oh,
Surprise!
that shit.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I do. Honestly, I do wish Zelda had more surprise mechanics.
Yeah, me too.
Other than
It
the
doesn't.
pets
It
that
doesn't
are never
quite fill
surprises.
me. It doesn't quite fill me with that sense of pride and
Yeah.
accomplishment.
It's
anymore.
occasionally of surprise, like, oh, hey, it's a Beyblade. Other
Yeah.
times, oh, hey, it's gambling addiction.
Oh, hey, sometimes I get because I was talking about how like a surprise mechanic sounds like when you put on your VR headset every now and then it just gives you a jolt to the part of your brain that registers pain.
I feel like
This
surprise.
is the exact.
I feel like
this-
surprise mechanics are just like fucking. I feel like there's
Yeah.
a rape joke somewhere
They're
in there.
phrasing it in
So-
such a kiddie way, which is why it feels so
This is
dirty.
exactly the same thing Pitchford were saying
By
about
the way,
Say that
just
the
in case
actual-
people don't
Guys,
know
guys,
yet.
guys.
they might
we
be
should-
mini buys.
We
By the way,
should
just in
probably
case
give
people
our
don't know
audience
yet, yeah.
some context.
What happened was an EA stockholder basically
Not
said...
just an EA stockholder, the fucking vice president of the company.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry.
Okay, fuck. That's pretty
so
bad.
the vice
But
president
continue.
of EA goes into an interview and says, no, guys, they're not loot boxes. They're surprise mechanics, and they're not at all unethical. Now,
The
you
actual
say that when you know
they are
you're evil.
quite ethical.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he
quite
compares them to surprise toys, which include Kinder Eggs, Hot
Which are
Hatchimals, or LOL Surprise. Now, to me, that is besmirching the good name of the Kinder Surprise.
You mean the illegal candy in America?
I mean, it's because
That's
of
not
choking
helping your
hazards.
case.
To be
They're
fair,
joking.
that he didn't make that argument in America. He made it
Yeah.
in Parliament.
All right, fair enough.
No, that's
so-
the main thing. This is their VP of Legal and Government Affairs, meaning he was probably testifying to make sure the
Oh.
loot boxes don't get banned. He said that
you,
shit.
You
to
say
me.
quite ethical when you know you're evil.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
the exact quote is, "We do think the way that we have implemented these kinds of mechanics, and FIFA, of course, is our big one, our FIFA Ultimate Team and our packs, is actually quite ethical and quite fun, quite enjoyable to
If
FIFA."
you have to go out of your way to say no, I think it's quite ethical. It's not ethical.
It's like,
Plain
guys,
simple.
that's a pretty.
I didn't cheat on you.
suspicious
That's
denial.
how you know he cheated on you.
No, this is literally Shaggy's "It wasn't me," where it's like, okay, so she caught you on the sofa in the shower and she recorded
wasn't me.
but
And
it wasn't
she
you.
saw the marks
It
on
wasn't
his
me
shoulder.
though.
I did not hit that. It's bullshit. I did
It's
not
bullshit.
do it. I did
No,
not.
because of
I'm
this Lozo didn't hit her.
I know that's the thing. It's like in that
Yeah.
instance, Tommy didn't actually did not hit her.
Yeah. So it's like that's not a. But yeah, no, it's really fucked up, and I think that honestly, this is like.
It's the phrasing that they're trying to make it all kiddie sounding, the
Mhm.
kid friendly.
That's pretty
that
fucked
makes
up.
me want to vomit.
Well, because I think the main thing here though is that like this is the last ditch effort for them to fucking try to make
To
it seem
shake
ethical,
this off.
and they
The
failed.
issue is I feel
miserably.
like it's gonna work.
Yeah, like I feel like somebody will say, "Oh, well, that's fine," but anybody in their right fucking mind will look at it and go, "No, it's
They
still
broke
gambling."
both kneecaps on the landing, and their toes exploded offward.
It's
But
like-
I think it's gonna work.
I
and
think
hate
I
it.
think it's gonna work, and I'll offer like kind of an example where this worked before. So after the
Okay.
2008 housing market crash, what they did, these big banks who were betting on the housing market, is they essentially set up the exact same thing just under a different name, and this is still going on to this day. It's just no one gives a shit because it's a different name.
Yeah, and that's kind of fucked up because, like,
Yep.
just because you say that it's not this doesn't mean it's not actually this in practice. Like, like legally speaking, as big as for great justice, justice boy, whatever the fuck you want to call me, my justice boner was very aroused by the idea of these being called gambling, and the possibility that they will no longer be considered that because their surprise mechanics is pretty fucked. Given that in practice, it's still fucking gambling.
Okay, so here's the thing. I live in Quebec, who are hyper stringent about this. So for sure, these things are banned in Quebec. Give it like a year or so.
hmm
So what I'm going to be interested in seeing is, will we be getting released in all nations except Quebec, or will
That'd be
Quebec
funny.
get better versions of games?
Because the other
I
thing
mean-
that was on Super Beast recently regarding this subject was like, oh, the possibility of sports games not being released as often or doing as well, and it's like, who the fuck cares? Like, honestly.
A whole lot of
That's-
people who aren't gamers.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I-
to keep the children from becoming gambling addicts.
Yeah, it's like,
Also,
okay,
it's
so-
bullshit that they wouldn't be released as often. They're just trying to spin it that way to make you feel bad about making them feel bad.
yeah, it's like, okay,
Won't
well,
somebody think of the big corporation?
Well, someone think of these
Please think of-
children.
Won't
Yeah.
somebody think of the poor CEO who's just
Yeah.
trying to make an
Yeah,
extra
listen,
million?
you're all being so fucking mean. Now fucking Mr. CEO man can't have a fifth fucking yacht. You
Yeah.
heartless
so
bastards.
the thing about
Now
that
Randy
really,
Pitchford can't do magic. Thanks.
Yeah. so
Did you guys hear
the
that apparently Randy Pitchford is like embezzling money like crazy?
He's been doing it for a
Allegedly.
long time. How do you think
Allegedly.
Borderlands 2's that good?
Hey.
He stole Sega's money.
Randy, no, allegedly.
oh yeah, no, he did actually. He stole all the money for like Aliens, Colonial Marines, and funneled it back into Borderlands.
I'm sorry, they made
Allegedly.
What a
money,
hero, actually!
Yeah, they were contracted out to make Colonial Marines.
and they made
Yeah.
money off of that.
Yes.
Oh, dude,
Guess
it's a
what?
contract. They made a shit ton of
He's
money
a
off of that.
magician, man. He just made that money disappear.
Yep. Now you see it, now you don't.
And now the Borderlands devs see a lot of it.
Yep. But anyway, so it's like,
So
yeah,
anyway.
this loot box thing is pretty fucked. But let's talk about something that actually makes us happy, and
You're
that
right.
actually
Although-
gives you a sense of legitimate discovery.
Now, but before we get too
Monk
deep
from
into this,
Tennessee.
is somebody else doing a second audio recording of this?
I'm not. I'm not.
Oh fuck!
I'm on my phone.
Wait, no, yeah, I did start recording. Through,
Okay, perfect.
It's
By
not
the way, to
pure
all the
audio.
haters who say
It's,
iPhones
I
don't
just
have
did
good
it. I just
audio, I
activ-
bet you didn't know I was on my phone.
All I did was I just activated my Nvidia thing. So
Okay. As long as we have like
That
some
might be
kind of
fine.
backup, that's fine.
Yeah, because the backup would be nice, so that we don't have to.
I will be able to like extract the audio from it fairly easily.
So
Yeah.
anyway, Zelda though. So before we actually start gushing about Wind Waker and/or Breath of the Wild, what's everyone else's experience with Zelda?
Yeah, let's go top to bottom and have everyone give their spiel about Zelda. So who's at the
Yeah.
top?
So that'd be Wiz, I guess.
Okay.
Wait,
Well,
no, because like, are we going
yeah, no,
top
you're
to
on
bottom?
top.
And... So I guess it's me actually.
Look, tell you
if we're
what,
gonna
this
go...
is this is mostly going to be me not shutting up. So please say.
Okay. So I'll go first. So my experience with Zelda is pretty standard for most people our age. My uncle, when I was a kid, had an N64, and he had not Wind Waker. Fuck, he had Ocarina of Time.
He's a sorcerer.
Yeah.
He's a time-traveling wizard.
So he had Ocarina, and I really enjoyed that. It's actually one of the first games I think I ever played. And I enjoyed that quite a bit. And then he got a GameCube a few years later, got a copy of Wind Waker with it. Wind Waker was really good. And then whenever I was about 8 years old, my father bought an Xbox with a bunch of emulators on it. So I got to enjoy basically all of the old Zeldas up to that point, including like the Game Boy Color ones, Minish Cap, like basically everything except for Four Swords that have been released up to that point. And I've been pretty consistent with keeping up with the Zelda releases, except for the 3DS titles, and I didn't play much of Spirit Tracks. I did not touch Skyward Sword at all.
Dude,
That's a shame because Spirit Tracks rocks.
we need to play Spirit Tracks.
I've heard really good things, but I just didn't have, like, I started playing it, and I was like, wow, I really, really like this, but I didn't finish it for whatever reason.
The only haters of Spirit Tracks are player haters, and you shouldn't player hate on me.
Yeah,
That's fair.
the only people who don't like Spirit Tracks are people who've never tried it.
Just like cocaine.
I was going.
Spirit
I was
Tracks
doing.
is the-
I was doing more the Krabby Patty thing, but
Oh.
okay. The Squidward not liking Krabby Patties thing, but okay, sure. Cocaine, hard drugs works too.
Spirit Tracks is the cocaine of Zelda.
And what the fuck do you think they put in Krabby Patties?
Spirit Tracks.
Is
crap.
that the secret formula?
It's cocaine.
It's
Also,
plankton
so-
and cocaine.
Before we move on to Keegan's experience with Zelda, I did actually have a funny anecdote. So, you guys know there's a puzzle in Phantom Hourglass. I think I was about 10 years old when it came out, and you have a map, and the map is like reflected on both the top and bottom screens, and the solution is that you close your DS, because that game's just a glorified tech demo, right? And I think that's a really
I love that.
no. Here's the thing, right? I think that's a really clever puzzle, but 10-year-old me was like drawn all over this map, going like, "What the fuck is wrong with it?" I swear to God, went to go take a shit, closed my DS, came back, puzzle solved. I was like, okay.
Okay.
So once again, your bodily functions
Oi!
save the day.
Once again, Cipher took a poop and it saved the world.
Yes. So Keeks, what's your experience with Zelda?
Yeah, so the only game that I've actually finished.
Did we just
to
skip
completion-
Ish?
No,
We
we're
skip-
going in order of top to bottom, so it's going to be me, Keegs, you, Wiz, and then Ish last.
Can I go last?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh no, like I
give me
said,
1 second,
no,
so
like
you
I
might as
said-
well go now, I was going to say.
I'm about to say yeah. Just knock yours
I
out.
should go now, because it's going to be 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ish, give us yours.
I know, hype, give us
I'm
yours.
sorry, hype, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Clears throat.
Born to Die. Hyrule is a fuck. Kill 'em all shitty timeline. I am Trashman. 410 quadrillion dead links.
Oh dear.
Correction, it's shitty timelines.
Yeah.
That's my experience with Zelda.
If it's any consolation, hype, my hot take is that the SMT timeline is way more complex and interesting than the Zelda timeline.
That's not a hot take,
It's
you're
more
right.
complex, not more interesting.
The Zelda,
I would
because
say
the
it's more
Zelda
interesting.
because the Zelda timeline wasn't actually supposed to exist.
Neither was the
sequels here and
SMT
there,
timeline.
but- yeah, there were some sequels here and there, but there was never supposed to be a connection between like Ocarina of Time and Zelda 1.
That's fair.
Okay, so yeah, so hype
Okay.
not a fan.
Yeah, hype
Yeah,
has.
Hype
Hype's not
hates
a fan of
Nintendo.
most Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, so my
just
only
knows
game
what's
that
right.
I've beat to completion has been Breath of the Wild. I've started this one, Wind Waker, a bunch of times, but never gotten past the fucking what's her face, the bird island.
Oh, really?
Rock.
Yeah,
Dude.
That's super early. Yeah.
Yep.
He's
It's like
talking
halfway
about
through, actually.
No,
like,
he's talking
not-
about
I
Dragon
need
Root.
to. All right,
Dragon
Radish.
Root.
Oh, I thought he
need-
said
Radish, that's
never
it.
got
I
past
need
the
to-
Rock King.
Radish, I need to drag you and my friend Will into doing this because I think
Alright.
you guys stopped at the exact same place.
No, I beat fucking Wind Waker.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep
I
getting
thought he
you
was talking about the Rock King. The
I
boss
keep-
fight with the Rock King at Forsaken Fortress.
Yeah,
the
but
second
he,
time.
he said he couldn't get past the Bird Island, so I'm
No, like,
assuming
I'm
he's
sorry.
like,
Okay, Bird
Keeg,
Island.
I'm
That's the
sorry.
bird
I just
boss.
keep getting Keeg. I'm sorry. I keep getting everyone confused.
Do we all look the same to you, you racist?
Considering all I'm seeing is squares, yes.
I'm a
You're-
vegetable, fuckface.
I'm a plane.
Meow.
I don't know what I would be, but whatever it is, I don't like it.
You're an Onimusha character, right?
I am alien.
No, this is my avatar is a Dynasty Warriors character. You
Yeah,
uncloak
Onimusha.
swine. Okay, Onimusha is way better than Warriors, and like, but that's
Who
not
am I
here nor
insulting
there.
here? Am I insulting Warriors or Onimusha? I can't tell.
Why not both?
I genuinely cannot tell. So how about both?
Yep.
So Keegs, your experience was just Breath of the Wild and Wind Waker, really,
Yeah,
or
and
have you played any of the others?
I've seen playthroughs of the others. I've never touched them myself. I adored Breath of the Wild because I don't know why, but that feels like what an open world game should be at its core.
Go anywhere,
Well-
do anything.
Yeah. As opposed
We're
to
gonna have a.
as opposed to the
We'll,
GTA.
You're gonna
we'll
be
talk
fun.
about that later. We'll
Yeah,
talk
okay.
about
But say
Yeah.
you're gonna be fun during this conversation.
I'm gonna be
Oh
fucking
yeah,
fantastic.
I'm also gonna be fun because I've got some hot takes too about Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, no. Oh no, me too. That's the thing.
Like I don't hate it. I think it's really
All
good.
right,
but I
so
just-
who's-
Ish.
who's next?
So,
Yeah, Ish.
So Ish. What's
Alright,
your?
So, warning, this is going to be the start for a lot of my stories in the future. I
Oh,
grew
dear.
up fucking piss poor. So, I couldn't afford video games when I was young. So what we did was, my uncles just stole everything on the family computer by piracy. Yar har
Nice.
fiddle.
Yarhar.
Yarhar
Yarhar.
indeed.
Yes,
Alright.
we've all heard the song. We all know the meme. Thank you very much, Fred Perry. Now-
Pirate.
So, they parodied a bunch of shit.
Us, the pirates.
NES and downwards until the Game Boy, and then
Okay.
and then when the GBA came out, my cousin, who was much more better off than me, gave me their Game Boy Color, along with Pokemon Red, Gold, and Link's Awakening DX.
Yo, that's awesome.
So my first Zelda game was Link's Awakening, and then I went back and played Zelda 1 and 2.
Mhm.
And then I played, and then my first experience with past those was, what's the fucking Link Between Worlds?
Oh,
on
I
the
haven't played that
GBA.
one. Oh, no,
And then-
Minish Cap is the GBA one, dude.
No, Link Between Worlds had a port before that.
No, you mean Link to the Past.
What?
Link
Link to the
Between Worlds is
Past.
the sequel. Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it comes in a double pack with 4
Man,
swords.
I can
Yeah,
fucking
that's what I was
I
thinking
can
of. I just
hear
thought-
Hype's
like-
fucking confusion through the internet.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I don't like, dude. I'm sorry. Link Between Worlds, completely forgotten. I just
You know
put
what?
its name on the other one.
That's fair. No, I'm not. Dude, I'm not giving you shit for it. I was just
No,
like,
I
trying
get
to get
that.
it straight in my own head.
Yeah, no, fair. So I played that on the GBA. Then, when the Wii came out, my cousin gave me their GameCube
Mm-hmm.
because at that point it's useless.
Yeah.
And my parents were able to find Wind Waker for $5.
Yo, fuck you.
I
I feel like fuck.
adored that game. And so just fucking blitzed through that. That was awesome. And from there on, I played pretty much every Zelda game.
That's fair.
The only one... Did I play all of them? Hold on. I'm thinking the only... No, I played Four Swords Adventure. Yeah, I played fucking every Zelda game so far.
And Four Swords Adventures is fucking super
Four
underrated.
Swords Adventure is very good, but no one played
Mm.
it.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Well, because its main gimmick, you need other video games and consoles to do.
Yeah, because you need at least the GBA and a link cable.
And a
Ha.
copy of Four Swords.
Cable.
Wait, do you actually need a copy of Vanilla Four Swords? I don't remember. It's
I
been a
believe
while.
so. Well, Four Swords / Link to the Past.
Oh, okay.
Don't
Yeah.
worry,
Why is it
it's,
called
it's,
Link
it's
to
the
the
internet.
Past when
Someone's
he's
gonna
going through
correct
the
you if you're
Shadow
wrong.
World, by the way? He's not going back in time.
But what if he is, though? No, but...
Well, it's
Ooh.
because he was originally supposed to in the original Zelda.
Oh, okay. That makes
He's
sense.
supposed to go
Yeah.
between a more modern world, a past world, which is what we got, and the future.
Oh, future.
Cyberpunk Zelda. When does Link get his lightsaber?
Man, when does Keanu Reeves show up?
He did in Breath of the
When
Wild.
does
What are you
Keanu
talking
Reeves
about?
wake the fuck up, hero
In
of
Breath
time?
of the Wild, you have lightsabers and are fighting robots.
I
Okay,
mean,
that's
you're not wrong.
true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's
The
fucking
first DLC
awesome.
was a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Why
the
was there a
motorcycle's fucking
motorcycle?
awesome.
Meow.
So
anyway.
Wiz, mark the fuck out about Zelda. Let's go.
So, what is Pinball Wizrobe's impression of Zelda? Anyway.
Eh.
I did it.
Just
I
I
bet
I
it was
just been
gonna
sitting
be
here
about Zelda.
waiting to make that joke. Oh no! So my experience was, I believe I might be one of the babby here, at the ripe young age of 24.
No, dude,
I'm
you're the
18.
oldest one here. Yeah, you're the oldest one here. Keegs and I are
19.
21, Ish is 19, and Ive's 18.
Oh, holy fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, well then y'all must y'all all went back and y'all started like way.
No, I was just poor.
I was just really, like, I just had emulators.
I didn't
'Cause-
like Zelda.
Yeah.
Right. So when I started, I started getting into gaming around in the GameCube era. Around the time, like right after I got it, when I would have been, I think I would have been 6 years old,
Mm-hmm.
thereabouts, when the GameCube came out.
Okay.
I went over to my cousin's house where one of his friends was playing Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I asked if he allowed me to borrow it, and I think I ended up just keeping that fucking thing. It was the collector's thing. It was Wind Waker, and it was also the second disc that had Ocarina of Time and Master Quest.
My uncle had that too, but it was like it's more than just that. It's actually Zelda 1 and 2, and then Ocarina and Majora's Mask, I'm pretty sure.
So
Yeah.
what ended up happening for me, I was stuck for a while. First about where Keeks was, and then later I ended up getting stuck around the Forest Haven.
Okay.
It was a while before I actually was able to, before I actually had the intel up to my int ability score to start
Am I the
really
only one
getting
who
in
never
there.
got stuck in Wind Waker?
I got stuck in the Triforce Hunt, but that's just because it's really boring.
Well, I mean, now I've beaten the game something like 5 times.
Well, I stopped for like a year at the Triforce Hunts because I was bored and I was playing Resident Evil at the time.
Also,
Other than that,
I'm just gonna take a second to give a shout out to fucking English breakfast tea. I mean, fuck, dude.
Yeah, so anyway, continue.
But yeah, so since then I played pretty much all the 3D Zeldas. Twilight Princess, solid.
Mm.
Skyward
Oh, yeah.
Sword, I enjoyed
We'll have some
Skyward Sword.
thoughts
I know
on
it's a
Twilight Princess. We'll get to that one.
I know
Mm.
I know there's some thoughts on Skyward Sword, that there's a lot of
I have a hot
animosity
take
there,
on
but
Skyward Sword. It rocks. I really
I
like
think it rocks too.
Thank you.
And I also have both DS versions. I played a bit of the Game Boy ones, both Link's Awakening and also Oracle of Seasons.
Okay.
So I've toyed around a lot with Zelda, and it's while I understand it's definitely not the best series that I am a fan of, but there is just something special about it.
Yeah.
It was like my gateway into the world of gaming, and it's got a special place in my heart there.
Well, that's Nintendo for a lot of people in general.
Now, yeah, exactly. The reason but like, I also want to be able to criticize it because it should be held to a certain standard. It should be allowed to prove. I bring all this up. The reason I suggested that we talk about have a Zelda cast, and also, but there's one specific thing I wanted to get into. That being the upcoming sequel to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, because I think that's going to be just probably a half-hour discussion
Breath of
in
the
and of itself.
Wilds.
Because
It's not the first Zelda game named that already exists too.
No, Zelda 2.
well, to be fair, we don't know. To be fair, we don't know if it's going to be.
Oh, so yeah,
called
we don't know that?
It's
Tale
just
of
called-
Nature.
Tom Clancy's Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Tale of
Tom
Nature.
Clancy's Zelda Wildlands.
Now it's tactical action.
I would play the fuck out of that. Actually, I would
Yeah, then you
unironically.
get
play
pseudo-political
the fuck out of
commentary about how Zelda is as a ruler.
Yeah.
The merits of the caste system.
it. Yeah.
The socioeconomic status of Hyrule.
We all know the Gorons are like at the bottom of the
Oh, wait,
cast.
no, they're not. The bottom caste, as we all know, are the Gerudo, as Ganon says in Wind Waker.
I love that whole fucking speech.
Man,
before you
That's
fight
just
him.
Ganon reading the Communist Manifesto.
Yep.
Man, I do not believe in a two Hyrule solution.
No.
because here's the thing. But the main thing I wanted to bring up with this
Two-temple
is
solution.
that
That's a better one.
because
Fuck.
I am because
That's the title.
because how many times have I made the joke in here that Breath of the Wild is the worst game I've played for 200 hours?
Yeah,
8 billion.
many times.
You've made it
but-
200 hours of times.
So, like the thing that I find about Breath of the Wild is that it's like Keegan said, it's easily the best open world game that I've played in the sense that like it has
So
a
we're just
design
jumping into this one?
philosophy. What?
We're just jumping into Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, so
I figured we could
I think
start
we
with
should
this because it's the
yeah.
one we've all played, and then we can go back as needed.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because the main thing was I wanted to like, we can talk about we can talk about the other Zelda games in the scope of Breath of the Wild, like where it deviated, where other games may have done things better.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a
fair.
good way to look at
It's
it.
just that Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 are the main pressing points here that I wanted to get on to.
Yeah.
And they're the most recent ones. That's that taste that's still in your mouth. That little.
So anyway,
Mm.
now that we've
That's
made enough
disgusting.
Weird noises with our mouths,
Aerate it.
Oh, we
Warm
have
up.
not made enough. We just made a few.
We have only just begun.
So, oh god, no, please.
Little.
Little.
Is that a fucking JoJo reference?
No, but this is.
My status. Platinum starfish.
Oh no. Hello, is this the Krusty Krab? No, this is Platinum.
Hey, Platinum, can you make my game for me? Can you make the next Zelda game, please?
Zelda's Zoinky Adventure.
Please stop popping your fucking cheek.
I did
so-
all 5 fingers.
Okay.
So,
But okay,
here's
the
an idea
Breath
for
of
the
the Wild.
format. So, do we want to go like top to bottom and get like again and give our TLDR on Breath of the Wild, or how do we want to structure this?
Yeah, I think we should go top to bottom and then give our TLDRs. So my TLDR is that I think that it's definitely the bet like what I think of when I think of an open world game because it's truly open. It has a design philosophy of like go anywhere, do anything. And I think that's both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness.
Yes, exactly.
Because like
It is, but I think people oversell how new that is. There are
Yeah,
games
'cause
that
it's
did
not
that
that new.
before
One at a
It's not
time,
that-
though, boys.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not that new. No, it's not. But I think that another thing that we don't really talk about much, as far as I'm concerned anyway, is like those shrines are really interesting in that there's clearly two different ways to complete it. There's the way the devs clearly intended, and then there's the way that it's like, oh, I used my abilities in a way that is creative that doesn't necessarily feel like it was intended, and you start to feel like you're
Well, I
smarter
think-
than the developers in some way.
I think that's a bit of a misnomer. They clearly intended for both ways. It's just that there's the way that the devs drew for you, and then there's the way that the devs thought about how you would draw outside the box.
That's fair. That's probably a
Because
fair
if
statement.
if you ran something the devs legitimately did not think of, you would run into what's called a glitch. And
Yeah, you know what?
the game
That's
would bug
fair.
out.
Yeah, so it's like the shrines in particular are probably my favorite part of that game, even though there's so fucking many of them. And then, but the issue that I have with, say, this completely open world is that none of the areas that you go to feels like it's terribly fleshed out. And there's a lot of decent environmental design, but compared to, say, Wind Waker or Twilight Princess, where you have like this kind of sprawling adventure, you're really on your own for a lot of Breath of the Wild, and that hammers home the isolation of this world that's kind of like it's on its last legs. But at the same time, when you go to a populated area, you can find these side quests that are super good, but they just don't amount to anything. And the areas themselves don't really feel like they amount to anything when you do the dungeon. For the most part. I also think that, ironically, given how good the shrine design is, those 4 main dungeons kind of suck. They're not great. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. Is like I'm pretty mixed about Breath of the Wild. Like I haven't finished it to completion, but I did enjoy what I played.
Okay. I feel like mine's going to be the lengthiest, so I'll go last, as well as I'm just kind of doing the gameplay here. So I'll let everyone get out their shtick first, and then I'll jump in at the end, if that's all right with everyone.
I have very similar feelings to Breath of the Wild that I have to say Monster Hunter World.
Mhm.
It should not become. I feel it's somewhat unfair to compare to Zeldas of the past, even though that I'm going to be honest, that's a bullshit argument. It absolutely should. It's drawing direct comparisons to itself.
Yeah.
However, what I mean by that is it is not following the 2D Zelda formula or the 3D Zelda formula. It's its own new formula. And I feel like it should be compared to how it's laying that groundwork, which I don't think anyone has really done. Like, when I talk about Monster Hunter World negatively, people say, oh, you're just nostalgic and want old Monster Hunter back. No, I don't. Old Monster Hunter fucking sucked. I just played a
pretty
billion
archaic.
hours of it. The reason that I criticize it is I want them to continue in this direction, but improve it.
Yeah.
So, when I say this Zelda game is really, really good, but it has a lot of key flaws that need to be improved for its sequel or anything else that's going to use this formula. I really hope that they don't go back to older Zelda formulas.
I
Or if they
actually,
do, it's clearly like a spin-off thing.
I wholeheartedly agree because like this is the problem with a lot of the older Zeldas and even a lot of them like a lot of Mario games. Nintendo has this really bad habit of we found the formula, it works. Now we're just gonna paint by numbers for our subsequent installments, and maybe we'll change like one or two things around, and then
That's how Nintendo works. They find a formula
Yeah.
and they polish it to a mirror sheen.
But the issue is that then you have shit where it's like, okay, this didn't work quite like this, but we could refine it more, and they don't.
All right,
And
sorry.
so
Or they just add meaningless attractions like, hey, now Yoshi's there.
yeah, exactly. Because like my thing is Wind Waker, for example. Like Phantom Hourglass is clearly to some extent a successor to Wind Waker. Like not only is it a direct sequel, you have some degree of exploration, and I think that really works. But then you have Spirit Tracks iterating upon that, and that really works.
Well, Wind Waker, Spirit Tracks and
Spirit
Phantom
Tracks
Hourglass are clearly like a mix of the 3D and 2D formulas.
Yeah, and I think that works really well. But
It does. Which is in a weird spot.
Because I got to be honest, like I think the prime example that I would give is like the best usage of the whole we have two different worlds or two different whatever like gameplay methods is probably Twilight Princess, and I think it's a goddamn shame that they didn't make another game kind of like with that exact same design philosophy. Like sure, it wouldn't be as fresh, but there's some refinements that you could make to like controls or like how often you're doing stuff with it.
Play the best Zelda game, Okami.
Okay, Okami's great, but like I
No,
think that's
dude,
apples and oranges, bro.
No, it's really not, dude. Okami follows the 3D Zelda formula to a T. It follows overworld
just
exploration,
okay.
dungeon, bit more overworld, dungeon, bit more overworld, dungeon, bit more overworld, dungeon.
Now, my
Each
question-
dungeon, puzzle boss.
So my question is, are like, would you consider that to be like the only defining thing in the Zelda genre, or is there anything else to it?
Well, no, there's defining features, obviously, such as the aesthetic or the similar quote themes.
Okami
but-
didn't really have dungeons per se, from
Yes,
what
it
I
did.
recall.
It totally did.
Okay, Wiz, did you play like an hour of Okami? Because there's dungeons immediately.
Yeah. Like,
Okay,
It's
I
puzzle,
might
combat,
just be-
puzzle, combat, puzzle,
I
combat,
might just-
boss.
yeah.
I might just be misremembering.
I also think that Okami, like, to its credit, does a better job of the 3D Zelda formula than most 3D Zeldas, if only because a lot of those puzzles are used to facilitate character moments and flesh out the world. And I think that's partially because, like, it has to. It can't rely on the idea that, like, oh, you know Japanese mythology. Whereas Zelda, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know how Link and Zelda are going to act because, you know, you've played the
Because
game
you've seen them like
Because it's a
500
princess
times
and her knight, really.
Yeah.
It's never
Yeah.
been much more than that. And that's where I'm going to give credit to...
It's never been more than that, except in the realm of fan fiction.
So anyway,
Well,
you're going to credit
That's what I was
to
going to give credit to Breath of the Wild, is Breath of the Wild at least attempted some form of writing.
Yeah, because like I really like the memory scenes in that where it's like,
Well, the
Oh.
memory scenes are the best. Are probably
they
the
are.
best bits of story in the
I mean,
entire
I'm
game.
gonna go ahead and say that they're only parts of story.
That's the- it's like here's the thing. It's like there's story going on in your immediate present. It's just
Well,
not nearly as
Like,
interesting
no,
as
it's,
what
compelling.
it's the most bare bones. It's like, there's an evil Ganon. Why is he evil? Yeah, he's evil.
he's Ganon.
I had a terrible realization when I was first talking about this, and I'll get more into this once it's my turn. I had the terrifying realization I could not remember any of the 4 like descendants who were supposed to help you get in there,
Yeah.
except for Sidon.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
Sidon
because
Because
carries
he's
that
Sidon,
shit.
because he's the best.
He
He's
JoJo
Gaston.
poses.
He does just JoJo poses.
He's Gaston, but a fish.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's
he's
all I
awesome.
want. That's all I want.
I remember everyone from your past. I remember it's
Yeah, 'cause
Urbosa, Daruk.
They have good characters.
Yeah,
like
they're
they're,
good
they're,
characters.
they're not as fleshed out as I
for
would
the
like.
for the Gerudo, but that was about it. That's all I can remember for the new one.
Because like I think those memory scenes are a really good like way to characterize Zelda and Link, where it's like, okay, well, here's the past that we have, where Zelda's like, I don't know if I can do this, and that's really good. Like it
It wasn't
kind of
just that she didn't know she could, which would be kind of generic. She didn't want to.
Yeah, so it's like, I enjoyed that. I thought that was a really good, even though it's kind of, it's still kind of typical, but it's not as typical as the the alternative.
It's
But
something
anyway,
rather than nothing.
I've dominated the conversation, and we were supposed to.
Yeah,
like,
no,
let
we
everyone
were-
give
well,
their takes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, like we need that's all stuff that we should have probably been doing once we
Yeah,
but-
entered discussion mode.
A quick
So-
thing that I want to again just quick touch on for why I still think that for some reason it just always feels to me that they're still kind of playing up to like just trying to catch up to Okami in my mind is this is the first Zelda game to actually attempt some form of combat beyond maybe a counter.
Yeah.
Whereas Okami had a full Kamiya design system.
Oh man, Okami's fucking system is super good. Like,
Every single type of weapon had multiple weapons, and when those weapons were sub-weapons, they acted completely different.
yep, and that's really cool. So, Wiz, what was your take on Breath of the Wild?
Okay, this is because this might be where I just jump it right back into doing big discussions. Because like
Okay.
I agree with you. The main thing I agree with you on is this. Like, well, first of all, like I do really like the combat. First of all, like I understand that it's not perfectly well tuned. There's some small issues, mostly with like how like timing and spacing when it comes to Flurry Rush.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really solid combat. The weapon durability didn't bother me as much as it did some others, but I do see why it's a problem. But the main thing I agree with you on is like yes, being like this full open world, do anything at any time, is it's both its greatest strength and its greatest weakness. The fact, because how do I put this? It's very. I'm like I thought I was trying to get all my thoughts together, and then I just completely fucking failed to do so. Oh God,
We gave you so much time.
I know. I'm sorry. I was playing Slime
failed
Rancher
us.
instead. I was playing Slime Rancher. Also,
That's
I
fair.
I actually might just need to close the Discord window because I'm getting distracted by the gameplay. That might be part of it.
That's
That's
fair.
fair.
Yeah, but on the one hand, like yes, that is amazing that you can just go right up to Ganon immediately. You don't need anything that you acquire over the course of the game
No, like
once you
the
step
speed
off
run for the game is
plateau.
like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But that's also kind of a problem because it creates that thought in the back of your mind of, well, why am I doing any of this? I can
Mhm.
just go to Ganon.
Mhm.
And the game does try to make clear that it's like that's not a good
Well,
idea. That's a
the
terrible
game
idea.
does actually kind of suggest that because the always on your objective list is kill Ganon.
Destroy Ganon.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's always there on the top, so you always know. Oh yeah, it's always an option.
Yeah.
yeah, but
No,
at the
to
same
take out the
time,
Master
it's like,
Sword, you just need to eat a lot of food.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
You
you
need
need
to pack
13
well.
hearts. You need 13 hearts to get the Master Sword.
Yep, all you need to do is fill those hearts with a lot of pita bread.
Link loves Link confirmed to love flatbread.
Link loves falafels.
But
Oh, fuck.
but like it's the thing is like you did need some traverse. I think you did need to route the player a little bit at the end of
Yeah.
the day. Because here's the thing, I think that concept has gotten extremely underrated. Like it's become like this terrible thing. Like no, you can't tell the player what to do under any circumstance because then it's just like no, because then they'll think it's arbitrary. And it's I hate. I'm okay. Just go ahead and give me the timestamp. When did I finally say "fuck you, Ego Raptor" for that Zelda
We're
Superlitis?
38 minutes into it, so you got about half an hour in.
Ew, I feel bad. I thought I could get longer, but no.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen his Mega Man X one.
So the
Here's the
problem
thing,
with the Zelda one
I
is that
don't-
there's some
don't even-
actual like inaccuracies in there.
Yeah, I mean it's Ego Raptor. What the fuck do you expect?
On the one hand, it's like I don't disagree with some of his points on Ocarina as far as like
Oh, me neither. I don't think Ocarina holds up at all.
No,
at
it
the end of
doesn't.
the day.
I was gonna.
Like at the end of the day, I agree with the spirit of what he's trying to get at, which is like it's not the greatest game ever made.
No, it's not. It's really not.
I don't
but
even think it's the best. I'm not even 100% sure it's the best Zelda.
No, it's
It
not.
wasn't
It's
the best game of that year because Metal Gear
No.
Solid came out that year.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, the thing about like what you just said is as a bit of a counterpoint, because I actually fully agree with you, it does guide you in the sense that you always have more objectives than just that. Like, oh, go find Impa, go free the Divine Beast, here's the 4 markers on that.
That's
and then you
true,
have to
too.
do the little quest to do that. But I do agree that, like, I don't feel like the game does that enough. Or alternatively, I think my main issue with it is that you don't get enough of, like, here's the story in the world just from that, other than the exploration that you have to do by default. So it's like,
Well,
yeah, I get that 100%.
But here's
like,
the other. But even on like a smaller scale, like the fact that climbing is your main thing, and it's tied to a stamina bar, which you can immediately refill with food. And one of those foods, which is one of the biggest stamina like replenishers in the entire game, the Staminoka Bass, is super easy to find.
oh yeah,
All that to say, it's like stamina and climbing is basically a non-issue, which means it can be extremely easy to cheese whole sequences. Like, I appreciated again the Zoro storyline and Sidon. I appreciate that because it actively discourages you from climbing by making it a constant rainfall. And
yeah.
so you actually have to follow the path laden with enemies and wonder what's going on. And all the time, there's Sidon telling you can do it because he's the real hero in all this.
Believe in the Sidon that believes
Like,
in Link.
Breath of the Wild has the single most fuckable cast of any.
Oh, easily.
Dude, no, the fucking hentai is amazing for that game.
Oh god.
I was playing that game and I was like, oh, I'm feeling my pants get tighter as I'm looking at Sidon and Link side by side.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, yeah.
Link is like top 5 most fuckable dudes in games.
Is he above or below
I'm
Solid
sorry.
Snake?
I'm sorry. You're ignoring
Solid
the
Snake's
fucking
not
the,
even
the
in the
Mifa
top
bait
5
that
Sorry,
we
Big
have in
Boss.
this
I said
game.
Big Boss.
Big Boss lost his spot to Link.
What the fuck? No, that's wrong.
No,
that's
no.
wrong.
No, Ish,
Allow
you're
the
wrong.
bisexual man to
No,
tell
no.
you what's
Big
up.
Boss is dummy thick, right? You're
Yeah.
wrong.
No,
I'm
Big
really
Boss
glad
ain't.
I came in
Snake
today.
He got his ass from Eva.
That's fair.
Let me just go ahead and toss that one in there.
Just gonna yeet that in there.
Please. Because the other possible title was, fucking, whatever it was, is the cocaine of Zelda.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like, I get that. It's very, like, that's a really good thing. I agree with that, but I also think that game doesn't give you enough at later points to counteract areas where it's constantly raining, because, like, other than that one section, it doesn't feel like they're using the rain mechanically. It just feels like a punishment.
But that's my point. It's like my point is like you could, like that's the only thing that I remember. Like actively tries to route you down a path
Yeah.
for the sake. And again, I think that concept has become severely underrated because like, if you route the player, you can control the narrative. You can make a moment like more tense and more epic. And that's why I fucking hate that sequelitis, because it makes clear like what Aaron's like stance on these video games is. It's like it's just an immediate gratification thing.
Yeah.
It's just right down to like complaining about the pomp and circumstance with chests. I've never seen one man complain so much about one thing in different
About so
ways.
little.
And that one thing
I've never
is
seen one man
why
complain
do
so
all
much
these
about
games
so little other than his
why
penis.
do games do all these things to waste your time?
So, Ish, what were
They're
you saying?
video games!
Yeah, so, Ish, what were you saying?
Nothing. I'm just saying I've never seen one man complain so much about so little other than his penis.
All right,
Yeah.
so boys, I have a question time here. So I haven't cleared that spotlight across the way. Is it possible to do this section here without doing so?
I think you need to clear that spotlight.
I think you need to clear the spotlight.
Clear all the spotlights.
Fuck. Okay. Now I'll just get the heart and
I
get
appreciate-
spotted.
I appreciate your ballsiness. Honestly, by this point,
Just
though,
drop down.
maybe honestly, or just get caught and go from the jail.
That's what I mean. 'cause
It's
I've
super easy.
I've
Oh yeah,
knocked
going from
down...
the jail is the easiest way.
Yeah, my favorite speedrun tactic is going to the pirate ship and
Oh,
get
man.
caught if you don't have the sword.
Yeah. Fuck. Anyway.
But no,
It's
because but here's a prime example.
Mhm.
Like my experience with Hyrule Castle in Breath of the Wild. Because think about it. Think of how many routes that they
Oh, there's
give
so
you.
many.
There's
like
so many routes.
There's like 5 or 6
What
routes
if,
into
like,
Hyrule Castle.
here's the thing. It's like you can barge through the front door like a true badass. You can and fight your way past many guardians and several
Beat
pits
them
with
to death with your
Lionels.
Giant dick.
You can you can sneak in through the canals and go like from the bottom upwards straight to the
And
tower.
then garrote-wire them with your giant dick.
Yep.
There's a lot of things you can do with Link Stick.
'Cause
And someone write that in.
Unfortunately, fuck Zelda is not one of them.
I know, she's so fucking juicy. And it
No,
pisses me
dude,
off.
the last thing in the game is they need to
You can-
repopulate Hyrule.
Yeah,
oh
so-
yeah.
You can, or you can just
He
go through
repopulated
the,
a
go through the rooms and the dungeons, and you
Fuck.
can.
So I was gonna say Link repopulated a good many ladies that night.
Yeah, Christ. But like with
There's
all those
one
different
girl in
options,
the entire game that's not hitting on Link, and like you look at her, and you're like, what the fuck?
It's like,
Yeah.
what's wrong with you, woman?
but here's the thing: like with all those options clearly baked in, the easiest fucking route is to just climb the walls.
Yeah.
You can skip everything. Now, granted, by nature of that being my choice to do so,
You can also
like,
choose
it
not to.
kind of lessens the argument.
Yeah,
Like the fact
but-
that it's the easiest route, bar none, and everything about the game is teaching you that is the easiest way to circumvent
and-
these things. Is like you have basically taught me to cheese myself out of an epic approach to
Yeah,
fucking Ganon.
I was gonna say, like, just because it's the easiest option or it's the one, like, that open-ended design, you will always have the option where it's like, okay, do you want to cheese this? And usually that's the option that people are going to go with, because typically that's the one the game tutorializes for you as being the be-all, end-all of its design. So,
Exactly.
one thing I was actually going to note when we were talking about the linearity of that Zora section was that when you do that early in the game, like, because it's the second thing you do after the Great Plateau. It's like you go see Impa on a standard playthrough, and then you do that. And it's like sometimes you'll
It's the
even
closest
stumble,
one.
yeah,
But yeah,
like you'll
it's
even
the
stumble
closest
across that, right? And it's like you don't like that's really tense because there are points in that where it's like, oh, I didn't have enough food for this. I'm at 1 heart. I'm gonna fucking die.
Yeah, it can also exactly. It can also be just as tense because it's like, am I prepared to do this, or should I head back for a
Yeah.
second, for a fucking second? Like
Exactly.
again, routing.
I'm getting knowing nothing about this. What I'm hearing is like, yeah, the game becomes Darkest Dungeon for 30 minutes.
Now, I have a hard counter to everything that's been said thus far. So who's next? Because I really
That's
wanna
you,
see-
actually.
Is
It's
it mine?
you.
Oh, okay. So the main qualifier that I'm going to give to this is Breath of the Wild. I would consider to be my first Zelda game, so I went into it without any expectation of what it meant to have a Zelda title being on that game. Now, before I talk about the game itself, I'm going to give 2 examples of what I'm looking for in an open world game that I think really identify the strength of what an open world can be. So, one of the first open world role playing games that I ever played was The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion, and I remember in a certain quest I needed to collect 10 ectoplasms for whatever, some fucking potion maker. And since I
Yeah.
was playing a
I've
board-
got your ectoplasm right here.
got your ectoplasm right here.
You gotta
But-
get 3 bear foreskins.
But-
God.
But since I didn't have since I was just a fighter class, I didn't have any
3
magic.
warm
I needed a
assholes.
silver weapon, and I didn't have one. So I had this entire kind of personal side quest where it's like, okay, I just need to find a silver weapon, and it ended up taking me down a dungeon to find a silver weapon. Right. The other
Yeah.
example that I'll give is in the 5th Elder Scrolls game. I remember I was in high school talking with a couple of buddies, and I hadn't heard about the Augma Infinium, a book that levels you up a good number of levels in your selection of stats. And I remember discussing that with my friends and penciling out on paper during math class where specifically the quest start was. Those are my 2 fondest memories in video games.
Yeah, because I think the problem with a lot of modern games is that now that we have the internet, there's very little sense of oh, I discovered this myself, or some friends and I played through this and we discovered
Yeah.
it together.
Now-
Like,
Well, yeah,
Keeks-
that's why you gotta intentionally give yourself that experience, though.
Huh?
yeah, but that's really hard. That's
a
really hard to
side
do.
effect, yeah.
Oh wait,
because I was
don't
able
forget
to
about
do
don't forget
that
about the
a
heart piece
lot.
in jail.
A lot
that?
more with
Go behind the
stuff
barrels.
like
Go
Breath
behind
of
those
the
barrels.
Wild.
Wiz, stop. Ish, what?
I was able to do that a lot more with stuff like the rather than most games, because Breath of the Wild, everyone can find their own way to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
can't
that's,
play
that's
any
one of
2
the strengths.
playthroughs the same.
Because, I mean, take a look at what has been, one of the best-selling, quote-unquote, open-world games of recent history in video games has been Grand Theft Auto 5, where the missions
Yeah.
are basically, follow this line, do exactly this with this equipment that we give to you, and then we end the mission, right? Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild takes all of that sensibility and tosses it out the fucking
Yeah.
window.
Now,
for the
to that I
most part.
say, GTA 5 has moments like Breath of the Wild,
It does,
And
but
those are
you
the
have
heists.
to you have to yourself go out and search.
I
They never
also
come
wanted
to
to
you.
point out that I think the issue with GTA is that there's no coherent design philosophy between, like, we had this open world where you can just be a maniac if you want to, and then we had this really good story with some really good set pieces.
Yeah. Well, I mean, GTA 5 there was. His name was Trevor.
His name was
You know, that's
Trevor?
fair.
Well, he was, but even I'll take a look at the example of his missions, right? There's this one mission where you go and like you literally fly a crop duster into a gigantic ass cargo plane and fucking end up crashing it, right?
Fucking love that
now,
mission.
It's a beautiful set piece. You have no freedom in that mission.
Okay,
It-
to be
it-
fair though,
It might as well be on rails.
no. To be fair though, Keegs, what I'm getting at is that there is a stark divide between let's make an open world game where you can just dick around in Los Santos, and let's have set pieces like that.
Oh, and
Like,
I completely
Rockstar
agree.
needs to pick.
I
And
completely agree.
I think the thing with
you can have
that,
both.
yeah, like you can have both, but it's like with Rockstar's typical philosophy, it's like I think they're gonna have to start moving towards one or the other, because like the open worlds don't feel like they have enough to really do in them anymore.
I'll borrow
for
an
their
I don't
analogy.
feel like they do, but I think they can improve that by simply either making it denser or by just making more content for a. much
That's
more
fair.
open
Okay, I do have
Mhm.
an example that I want to bring up later, or once it comes around to me.
Okay,
I mean,
so-
you can bring it up
Actually,
now, honestly, if
yeah,
it's now.
I think like as far as like a dense open world that
Mhm.
kind of works both.
It's gonna be
the one
Yakuza.
that- Yakuza, exactly.
Yeah, my man.
Yeah,
It
so
is
as the
Yakuza.
Yakuza mark
Think,
here,
look,
yeah.
like Yakuza.
Yeah,
Think
same.
about Yakuza 0, because there's two things. It's not just that it's a small but dense open world.
Mhm.
It's that every single thing that you can do in that game
It's fun as
funnels-
fuck and fleshed
it-
out.
yes, correct, but also it all funnels into a singular progression system with CP.
Yeah.
I was going to bring
All
up
of it,
Yakuza 6.
and it's everything. It's everything. It's not just like doing the mini games. It's
like-
not just completing side quests. Eating at the fucking restaurants
Yeah.
count.
Like to
Dude,
bring it
I was
to
going to talk about Yakuza 6 because in Yakuza 6, it's a brand new town for Kiryu also, so everything you have there is different from the old games.
Yeah,
Down to the fact
and-
that what's
yeah.
the video game in the video game this time? It's Virtua Fighter fucking.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that shit.
And also,
But-
feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Also,
Mhm.
but like, I believe there's more CP able to earn than you need to get all the upgrades.
I believe so.
That was the case from Yakuza 5 onwards because in Yakuza 4 there was actually.
So it would mean,
Yeah.
so that would mean like you can literally just like make your own experience with that.
And
You
then
can-
the other thing that I really like, sorry, no, continue, sorry.
It's just like so that's the way you can make your own experience, but still kind of guide the player. You are let loose in Kamurocho immediately, but most of the side quests, like as soon as you start them, it's just like it's nice and guiding you along.
Yeah.
And it's also and everything that isn't guiding you along, it's stuff you'd probably go and do anyway.
Well, because I was gonna make a complaint about like since we're talking about open world games in general now, and we talked about Yakuza, the Fist of the North Star game. The issue that I have with that is that they actively restrain your freedom by limiting the amount of side activities that you could do and gradually doling them out over the course of the story. And it's like that's really good from a traditional design perspective, but from the Yakuza team, where it's like all of these side
And
activities
from
are
the
really
perspective
good.
of Fist of the North Star.
Yeah, it's like it kind of pissed me off that it's like
I think you
okay, I
could-
have to wait this long to unlock baseball, and I have to wait this long to unlock bartending, and I have to wait this long to unlock like buggy races and shit. Like fuck
And I will
that,
say
man.
it's worth it when you get to it because the idea of fucking like the Fist of the North
Kenshiro.
Star cast playing baseball, because you're like Rao being the pitcher to Kenshiro just catching the ball and Jaggy keeps missing it is the greatest idea ever.
Oh, it's great, but like the main complaint that I have with that is it feels like those things are like. Also, I felt that in that one the side quests are quite weak, but that's neither here nor there. It's like I don't feel like that game has enough to do early on. So the other thing about Yakuza that I was going to note before we get back onto like Zelda and Breath of the Wild is there was no better feeling than booting up Yakuza 0 for the first time and completing that prologue and then basically being able to go anywhere and do whatever the fuck I wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But and what you were saying, like we were talking about a dense overworld. That is like the other big problem with Breath of the Wild is how sparse out everything is.
Now,
But,
I'm going to disagree with this, but
I
I
gotta-
do want
gotta-
to hear
yeah.
the spiel here.
Yeah, so because like especially once you start getting the shrines, like there's one like on that first road to like if you're going by like the main missions that it's giving you, going from Great Plateau, then to Kakariko, backtracking to Hateno, you do see something like 10 shrines, but
Mhm.
that is very clearly like on the main paths. There are a bunch of them clearly designed to be there and to make you feel like early on you're knocking those shrines out one right after the other.
Now, it's interesting
Yeah.
that you followed the road because I actively did not.
Okay.
I didn't. I went with the like intended route the first time, and then the second time I played it, I went with the other one. But I was also going to say like I think that it's two different design philosophies on display though, because like Yakuza's overworld is supposed to be dense because it's also like Tokyo Simulator 2019.
Yeah.
Well, I will come like a very specific part of Tokyo.
Yeah, it's a kabukicho.
But the
Yep.
point
The red
being,
light
but the,
district.
yeah, but the
And-
point,
I wanted to finish my point. So the
Right.
Zelda thing is like the point of Zelda has always been exploration, and that's why it's as open and sparse as it is, because it's to give you this feeling that you're on this grand adventure and that you're really isolated, and that it's discovery is the theme of that game. But I think that they take it too far, like you were saying, because it's too open ended in a lot of ways.
it's way.
So that I say, like, Zelda's never really been open-ended. It's always been very... It's always been had the illusion of being open-ended.
Mhm.
But really, you were dropped in a spot to the point where if you did not follow the given path, the intended path, you're not only wasting your time, it's almost impossible.
Well, they wanted to emulate Zelda 1, and that's probably the most open ended one, where it's like if you know what to do,
It's
you
by
can
far,
knock out
yeah.
those levels in any order.
Yeah, it's by far the most open-ended, to the point where you can walk in the dungeon, get the weapon, and fucking leave. You don't even have to
Yep.
beat the dungeon.
Don't even have to finish it.
Well, you do have to finish it eventually, but you can just leave.
Yeah.
You can't do that in any other Zelda game.
So just before we get on to the next person here, I do want to say like two other things about kind of like the open world mentality. The first that I'm going to borrow an analogy from someone else. I can't recall the name, but I'll make sure to link it in the video description. Is that
Yeah.
when comparing, say, something like Grand Theft Auto 5 to Breath of the Wild, you can use the analogy of a Lego kit versus just a box of just Lego pieces.
I feel like this is a Joseph Anderson bit.
This
it's
is
not.
actually specific. Let me guess, Nakey Jakey.
It might be Naked
Oh,
Jakey.
might
It
be.
very well might be
Nakey
Naked
Jakey
Jakey.
made this exact
The
analogy in
single
Red Dead
greatest
Redemption.
game I've ever heard.
I was gonna say, and I'm gonna take
Okay.
it because it's so fucking good in that Breath of the Wild is like the big box of just random assorted Lego pieces, and that you have unlimited freedom, but you have to have some degree of creativity to actually get your worth out of it. Whereas
That's
Grand
fair.
Theft Auto is kind of like a Lego kit, where it's like, oh cool, I can make a Star Wars X-wing, but I have very little freedom in what I do with these pieces.
That's understandable.
And I think
'Cause,
it,
like,
it
yeah.
comes down to like some people are just gonna prefer one to the other.
So the thing about Zelda is at points, and I think this is both to its benefit and its detriment. Like the problem that I have with that game, and I use problem in like massive air quotes, is that it's very much make your own fun at points.
And
Where
that's
it's like,
what I
okay,
love.
I get to go but at the same time, it forces you to use mechanics creatively. Like slingshotting yourself on a rock using stasis
Oh,
is
it's
the
so
fucking
dope.
best. It's so fun.
It's the single greatest intended mechanic that doesn't feel like it's intended.
Hey, want to
Yeah.
be Mercenary Tao?
Yeah, pretty much.
And to be like, that's the beauty of the game. and
Would you like
it's,
a
it's,
plane?
it's,
No,
it's,
I'll have this pillar.
it's why I'm so willing to say, okay, it doesn't have a grand overarching story, in that this like the stories that you craft in those moments where you feel like, aha, I've just fucking discovered something. Those are so more valuable and so more long lasting in your mind, I feel, than any
That's
kind
fair.
of pre-crafted narrative.
Yeah, because I think the beauty of Breath of the Wild is that like if you play it with say one or two other people, you can harken back to that old school of like, oh, I did this last night and it was super cool. It's like,
Yeah.
I might try that.
And to me, like,
And, like,
that's
that's
the beauty of
great.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
That is-
why can't you have both?
Yes?
Yeah.
Somebody said my name?
No, I said, why
No.
can't you have both?
I heard Wiz say my name.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I did.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, I think you can, but I think that
Mhm.
you're going to lose something in that if you commit to one entirely, you'll have all of its benefits, whereas if you try to do two, I think you're going to inevitably end up having to sacrifice something somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and I feel like you can see that in Breath of the Wild, where it's like the story here is so bare bones because we went with the make your own fun philosophy,
Oh, you
and
definitely
it's
can.
like,
Yeah.
that's fair, I guess, because you can't have. I don't think you could make a Zelda game today where it's like, let's do it through solely environmental storytelling, or let's do it solely through this or that. Like people will want some form of structure, even if it's as loose as Breath of the Wild's is.
And a good example of this is Dark Souls, where a lot of the story is told to you, like you said, through environmental storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
like, there's
not
some
told to
degree
you
of it.
at all. You just have to figure it out.
Yeah, and as somebody who likes Shin Megami Tensei and figured out the timeline for that himself, like that's great. I love that shit. But at the same time, at times it's like, okay, there's too much here for one person, and then it becomes a community effort, which is also really good. But you have to be looking for it if you want to partake, and that's kind of a weird... I would say it's almost like a limbo thing of like, okay, well, I feel good for figuring this stuff out myself, but then I had to look at the community for the rest of it when the devs could have just told me some more stuff. Like, I don't feel like there's enough breadcrumbs in Breath of the Wild for that kind of stuff.
That's the main thing. Like that's the main thing I was trying to get at about like the sparsity, and also it's just trying to get that thing of exploration. Is that you're right? There's not enough breadcrumbs. Like I was trying to figure out like exactly how do I communicate this, and that's exactly the way to do it. There's not. It's never once you've gotten like all the shrines that you can just detect.
Yeah,
like the ones that are just out and about in the world, and you're down to shrine quests. It's not extremely clear what you need to do to find any of them.
Can you give me an example?
Like okay,
I've got one actually.
There's one
in Kakariko. There's one where you have to do every side quest in Kakariko, and then another side quest just to unlock the shrine.
Yeah, and that's not immediately clear. Like, there's a ton of side quests around Kakariko, and you wouldn't know that. And here's the main thing is a lot of them come up like when you talk to people. So that should be like, okay, then you talk to all the people. That should be an obvious thing.
A certain time of day, too.
Well, like not just that, but part of what happened. The thing in the game is like everyone is so sparse out, and sometimes they even move around. So it's like. It's not immediately clear that that's what you're supposed to do. The game kind of gets you so used to loneliness that it's just like, I don't need to talk to anyone to figure out what I need to do.
I feel like I found a way to perfectly summarize what it wants you to do in regards to the shrines.
Okay.
It wants you to find that answer that's lying in the heart of battle.
I mean, kind of, yeah, actually.
Thank you, Ryu from Streets.
It's like...
But here's another one, like, that's also just, like, even if I talk to someone, how would I fucking found this? There's one, and by the way, I'm going to describe the story of this shrine. You guys will believe I'm making this shit up.
Okay.
Go ahead, try me.
One of them is, so a lot of the shrines require you they're associated with a little pedestal that has a little gouge in the middle.
Yeah, the orb.
And you're supposed to put an orb in the middle to then raise the shrine somewhere else.
Yeah.
One of them is right next to one of them has the orb directly next to the thing that you need to put it in.
Mm-hmm.
But it is being held and guarded closely by a woman who has fallen in love with the orb. I believe she called it Reggie.
Yeah, I love this. I love this shit. It's super good.
And as hilarious as that is, all of this is going on in a small alcove on a beach, and no one knows, and as far as I know, there's no one you can talk to find out this lady is here.
Yeah, like that's kind of a problem.
It is such an out of the way space that I don't know if you can possibly find it without a guide.
That reminds me of the Eco Beach from Shadow
of the Colossus, yeah.
Yeah, you can find the beach from the start of Eco.
But there's nothing of critical importance.
There's not even a lizard or some fruit.
There's nothing of importance to do in Eco Beach. It's just an Easter egg. There is something of actual importance to do on this beach.
Yeah, because I would have rather had
here's the thing, though. You say of importance. I don't think there's any importance to getting every single one of the shrines in that game.
But it's still a thing that has some degree of importance, though.
The shrines of like.
Sorry, I get what you were saying, Tristan, but you just said there's no importance, but there's some degree of importance.
No, Keegan said there's no importance. I said there's some degree. Okay, it's not as important as, say, like doing the main quests, but there's some degree of importance, especially when you consider that these side quests are pretty much the only narrative and fleshing out of this world and its inhabitants that we really get outside of those main quests.
So I'll offer, in my mind, what are kind of like my two biggest critiques of that is that the map has a complete walkthrough of all the places you've been. So if the sheer thing you want to do is find the stuff you haven't, you have a direct map showing you where you have not been and where you can explore. Right? And then the other thing is, if you take a look at any of these places, just looking at them on the map itself, you can usually see, okay, this is a little enclave here that isn't...
That's a lot of burbs in your background, by the way, Keeks.
Like, I get that one. The second argument, I think, holds way more water. Because, like, yeah, that's a fair statement. I've seen some peculiar stuff on the map where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go there and see what the fuck
that's
is
the thing.
there.
It's like between the Korok seeds and the shrines, if something looks out of place, it's going to be something.
Mm-hmm. But I also think that, as Wiz was saying, like, some degree of, if you talk to this person, they'll give you a rumor that's like, hey, there's this fucking weirdo at this beach in this area, like this general vicinity.
Exactly. Like, there's
this
too
orb.
many. Like, in this instance, this is where you needed the NPC, like every NPC in a town, to say something useful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's fine. In this game you are playing right now in Wind Waker, Keegs, there's a ton of so many of these NPCs in Windfall are just going to say something that doesn't matter, dick. Maybe maybe it's something that might lead you to a side quest where you can get a heart piece. But that guy on the bench over there, that he has something. He can help you get a heart piece later. Sure. Right now he's just talking about how cool the ocean is.
Yep.
But you can afford to do that because the game kind of does. The game does nudge you along, albeit not as organically as a Breath of the Wild does.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally fair, but it can do that in the game mechanics, and thus allow these guys to actually have personality and just make some idle conversation with you.
Yeah.
When the game is as open ended as Breath of the Wild, and like it is of much more importance that you find like those breadcrumbs. You need those NPCs to all be going like, hey, I've heard this rumor about this and this and this, so you should go check that out, maybe.
Yeah.
And some of them, like, even if it doesn't activate the quest explicitly, if they could just go, hey, can I check that slate out?
Like, there's an example.
I heard there's somewhere about here, or just say the name.
Okay,
and some of them
using the Dark Souls examples, like the Crestfallen Warrior will say a bunch of shit of like, hey, have you met like this fucking wizard who got fucked up in the Undead Burg? And it's like, no, but I think I'm gonna go try to find him.
That does happen though in Breath of the Wild.
It doesn't happen enough though for how open-ended that map is. Like,
exactly.
The Dark Souls map is still pretty like it's not linear level design, but it's like
it's approaching linear.
It's approaching linear. It's on the sliding scale of linearity versus open-endedness. It's closer to linearity. So with the Zelda thing, like I'm gonna give the example of the shrine in Kakariko is my, huh?
Yes, you're super quiet.
Yeah.
I disagree with that assessment of Dark Souls simply because people have looked at it. If you like, it's super easy to just do everything out of order in Dark Souls.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
But that's awesome.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That like it's completely open-ended. You can do the second veil first.
You can, but nobody's going to.
I've seen people do it by accident.
Yeah.
Like also this, and obviously the big one is I know a whole lot of people who thought that Pinwheel was so easy they thought they were going the right way.
Yeah. I knew a guy in high school.
Get inside him, Keegs.
I knew a guy in high school who didn't go to Undead Burg first. He actually accidentally went to Pinwheel and was like, "Why? How do I kill these skeletons? Like, what the fuck is going on?"
I know a whole lot of people.
Sorry.
That's not the point I was trying to make.
To be fair, even if you go there late in the game, unless you have a holy weapon or a blunt weapon, it is actually going to be impossible to kill them.
So the point that I was trying to make was more along the lines of like in Zelda, I'm going to use the case study of Kakariko Village and its side quests. Okay, so the issue that I have with that is if you talk to everybody, then you're not actually going to get all of the side quests that you need for the shrine. And so I'm gonna this has a couple of different points. So there's that. You need to talk to them at a specific time of day and sometimes after having completed other side quests in the village. And then finally you get the prompt that's like, hey, if you talk to this person in the evening, you'll get a thing that's like, oh, this guy may or may not be betraying all of us for like the Iga clan. So I want you to tail him. And then you tail him. And this is one of my favorite side quests because he's like, yeah, the reason that I was like helping them was because they were threatening my family.
Oh, it's not just that. I love that I do like that side quest. I like the bait and switch they do because they initially bait you into following, like this girl.
Yeah.
To the opposite end of town from where the actual shrine is. And it's
and you're like, what the fuck?
Completely different.
Now, on the other hand, though, Keeks, to kind of... So I think the issue with that is that, like, I think that you would need some degree of... Like, you talk to this NPC and maybe they say, like, hey, this lady's really afraid of the dark and she needs some fireflies. Like, maybe you should go talk to her. Or some inkling of that happening. because like even if you talk to that NPC during the day, I don't recall this, but I'm like 90% sure there's no indication that she would give you that side
Yeah,
quest.
no, I'm pretty sure. I am also
No,
reasonably
I'll let you know how little indication there is. I had no idea that this side quest even existed before
Yeah,
this conversation.
exactly.
And there you go.
And that plays into my point of these aren't things that you need to do.
No, but they're things that flesh out the world and that make the world feel like more interesting.
Not to mention, like, shrines are not strictly necessary to do. That's fair, but I'd say they are still pretty high priority since you need a certain number of hearts to
get the Master Sword.
But also just like getting all the quests getting all those has an actual, tangible, usable, unlockable.
That's
unlike the Korok seeds. Unlike the Korok seeds, which is literally the biggest slap in the face. Literally,
golden shitpost.
Yeah. So like also though, Keeks, to kind of go to your point and give it some credence as well, I think that you're right in some regards because like next to Kakariko Village is the Great Fairy Fountain. And if you were just rushing through the game or whatever and you weren't looking at your map and paying attention to any environmental cues, you wouldn't find it. But if you look at your map and you go, hey, that spot looks really weird, you can go there and it's like, hey, I unlocked armor upgrades. That's fucking awesome. And like, I'm pretty sure most people would look at that and go, that's pretty obvious, but not everything is.
I will say to Keegan's point of, like, they're trying to let you make your own narrative, he is right that those are always, like, the single most memorable parts of games. I have the narratives I created for, like, I have one specific one that I'll always go back to is Okami, where I accidentally walked into a boss fight with a super hard to get unlockable weapon that just happened to be the mirror of what the boss had as a weapon.
That's awesome.
In the Ninetales fight, you can completely miss the sword that's exactly like her sword.
Oh, it's so cool. I didn't know that.
So I got that by complete accident because I just never bought anything with my fangs. And I feel like that specific side quest, the Firefly side quest, I found out by accident simply because like I was just like playing around with the fireflies. It's ooh pretty. So,
that's
like,
fair.
So like, I thought like, yeah, that's a cool thing, but I do think that they took it a step too far in making them way too missable.
Yeah. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at is, especially for, let's just use, like, instead of looking at the one shrine that's like, oh, you got to do 4 different side quests. It's like looking at each individual side quest, because some of them are locked behind times of day, and because there's so little indication, they're so easily missable. And I think that it's, to the game's credit, it fleshes out its world and characters in a way that the main story does not.
You need to
even
get
if it's
closer,
just little
Keith.
shit.
Oh, do I? Okay.
You just need to right on it. You need to hear a certain. There you go.
I think you need to inspect it. Okay, no, there.
Yeah. So it's like, even if, even though it's like very minor stuff, it's still some degree of world building that I think is very charming. Because like for that one, it's like, okay, this guy, this happened, that's really shitty. And if you haven't encountered the Yiga clan yet, it's like, oh, they're fucking, like, you hate them immediately before you realize, oh, these guys are super incompetent.
Oh yeah, no, like I love how much fucking jobbers the Yiga clan is.
Yeah. But so do we have anything else we wanted to talk about for like with regard to Breath of the Wild, or should we move on?
I
to a different
never
Zelda?
got to say my
Oh,
thing.
sorry, Hype.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've been waiting for an hour because I
was
had
gonna
nothing
say,
to add.
I'm so
I'm just
sorry.
sitting here just being like,
So
oh,
yeah,
Zelda,
what's
am
your
I right?
bid on Breath of the Wild?
What I'm about to now, I will say this: I waited around an hour to make a really dumb joke. Now,
Okay.
gentlemen, I take it you all are familiar with the phrase "wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle."
Yes.
I feel like this is giving Breath of the Wild too much credit. The
the
phrase
joke?
I would use is "wide as a stream, deep as my dick." So,
So about 1 inch.
more like 5 centimeters, but you know.
You know.
That's
more
2
than an
inches. That's 2 inches.
5
Yeah, that's a
centimeters?
bit
2
less
inches?
than 2 inches.
Yeah.
But a bit more than 1 inch. Like
Okay,
almost
I'm-
2 inches.
I'm-
you get
almost
the
2
joke I was trying to make.
We
Yeah,
did.
no, we got you.
Yeah.
It's just everything about, like, let me put it this way: something that people love to bring up is like something we talked about a little bit was climbing. Climbing's cool, right?
Climate's kind of cool.
I don't think it's nearly as cool as people say it is.
You're
There's
right.
a reason. Let me put it this way: that climbing system, for what it is, incredibly bare bones.
No, it is.
And
But
I
to me,
think
like, that's the
No,
beauty.
yes, and it is. But what I'm getting at is that I think that there's a reason that games haven't done climbing like this before. Because more often than not, apart from the act of climbing and item management, if you're in a difficult area, there is literally nothing. There is
Exactly.
nothing there. You're just doing it.
It would
People,
break
like,
any other game.
let me just say this: a thing that a lot of people got on Skyrim about was the whole, you see that mountain, you can climb it. Well, what they meant is, no, you can't climb it, you're going up a path. And while that is an issue, at least there was shit to do on that path.
Yeah, that's
there were
fair.
like 10 encounters that were all pretty difficult.
You're treating Breath of the Wild as if it's just a sparse, just like nothing going on land. And
there is stuff.
There's more than enough stuff to do just going across the land.
The beauty of Breath of the Wild is not supposed to be, it's not the adventure, it's the journey, it's how you do the journey. It is not just, on the path I fought a million monsters. It's, instead of walking the path, I took a rock, froze it in time, and hit it a million times, and now I'm flying like I'm Tao Pai Pai.
Yes,
a good example of this.
Cool. That's that is cool, and I appreciate that there are mechanics to manipulate like that. But I'm specifically, but I don't have any issues with that. The thing I'm talking about is why do people love the climbing so much? I don't get it.
No, here's the thing. You're viewing it as a mechanic. View it as a less of a limitation. You're viewing it as something.
I am now viewing it as less of a limitation, and I do see that. Yeah, it opens up some shit, but I just feel like there's very I feel like there's very little. Yes, and that's the problem.
No, that's the beauty of it. Is it takes away any limitation from the landscape.
Yeah, you're not. It's not Assassin's Creed where the running is supposed, or the free running is supposed to be the.
You cut out there towards the end.
I understand what he was meaning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be the focus. It's not the fun there.
Yes,
it's just that it helps you get to more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see it.
I also think that comparing it to Skyrim, the one thing I will give Breath of the Wild is that it does do you see that mountain? You can go there a lot better than Skyrim does.
Yes, because it's actually, it does that because it actually does it. I'm just saying that I don't see, I feel like that, neither is good. Let me put it that way. I feel like the Skyrim aspect of giving you just a path is, Skyrim gives you a very linear path, which is, I think, a bit of an issue in a game that is clearly meant to be all about freedom and doing your own thing. But I do appreciate that there's shit to do on it. You guys are saying that what it's doing is it's giving you a path to fun. I don't see a reason for the path to not be fun in and of itself.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I think the thing about Zelda is that, at times that's intentional, but that doesn't make it good.
Yes.
Because it's okay, you have these vast moments where you're just, running through an area, and maybe you'll stumble across, an enemy encampment that you want to take out to get, a treasure box or some supplies, and that feels really, really good. You feel like you're a fucking, a Viet Cong.
Yeah.
You feel like you're going to scavenge and, guerrilla warfare your enemies, and that's fucking awesome.
Well, it's kind of what I was talking about with routing, being able to route the player. In Wind Waker, there's a great because the main thing I wanted to do when I was cheesing about talking about how I cheesed Hyrule Castle and Breath of the Wild is directly compare that to Ganon's Tower in Wind Waker, which does very much route you in it tells you no, you have to fight all 4 bosses and you have to do a puzzle and then fight each of the 4 bosses again. But you're doing so in a situation where now you're more crazy powerful than you've been in the entire game.
Yeah, and that makes your dick feel huge.
That makes your dick feel huge, and you can't do that if they're not telling you just go down the way. If they're saying you can just climb around, climb over the door to the fucking to the next room. But even more than that, you know what really makes your dick feel huge? After you've beaten Phantom Ganon the second time, and you've got those light arrows, and you've blasted him, and now between you and the final boss is a room with several Moblins and Darknuts. You could fight them. You could engage them in further fisticuffs. But you did just get a one-hit kill wepen. that makes them fucking explode in light.
To be fair, Ish does have a valid point that you have a limited amount, but
they're limited, but there's pots all over the place to immediately refill them.
And I also have to say this:
it's there to make your dick feel big.
Something that I heard a lot of you guys say throughout this was specifically in regards to choice of but it's fine because you don't have to take the easy option.
But it's why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
but why wouldn't you? Exactly. There's no reason not to take the easy option through
Yep,
Hyrule
it's
Castle. Especially because, again, it's all about climbing the walls. The
Mhm.
thing that the game is constantly telling you is the best thing, cool thing
Why
to do.
would I not play the game optimally?
Yeah,
it's the problem with an obvious optimal route.
This is funny because like Tuna and I had this discussion about fighting games a couple of weeks ago where we were playing Unist, and he's like, I always play fighting games optimally, and I was like, that's not my philosophy when I play them, because like I'm playing these to have fun. Like if I was playing competitively, fuck yeah, but I'm not playing them competitively.
Yeah.
So it's like, but with
telling me
single play,
hold up, Cipher. Tuna's telling you he's playing Unist optimally. Doesn't okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. If he
No,
doesn't main Merkaba, then he's wrong.
his point was that he tries to find the optimal strings for his characters, and he labs
Playing
like
Merkaba
crazy.
instead of Seth. Lol.
Yeah, so his thing was like he tries to play it as optimally as he can within the characters that he likes and within the things that he knows. And I get that completely, but it's like I don't lab fighting games as much as say he does, which to be fair, he labs fighting games a lot, not to insult the guy, because like his dedication is very impressive.
It's just what he likes to do. Like
it's what he likes
there's
to do.
nothing to insult
Yeah,
there.
there's
Like,
Is this
nothing
where
wrong
you've
with
got
that.
stuck? Is this where you've gotten
No,
stuck?
no,
before?
I
but like also
I
fighting
vaguely
games, there
remember
is
what
no
to do.
one optimal combo because there's different.
You got to
combos
go
for-
up to the second
There's
floor.
no-
for
You're
you.
You're right. But like the thing is, I think the thing that he was getting at was like he tries to find the most optimal do so that he has more options. And my thing is like I like to, you know, on the one hand it's like, yeah, I know like 3 fucking Yuzu combos in Unist, but so it's like that's fair.
Oh,
that
no.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, yeah. So it's like I know 3 combos for this one character that I main, but it's like I'm enjoying myself, and I think that lab thing out of it. So it's 2 different philosophies, and that's kind of the same thing with and in single player it's a lot different, because it's like now you're putting these even more arbitrary limits on what you're doing, and you're not playing competitively with someone else. So there's no reason not to try a different thing.
So just out of
That,
curiosity,
and if I can finish up
Yeah.
one more point I had about Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild, because there are certain things about that game that I am disappointed by. I like I've said before off stream. Now that I'm here, I may as well fucking clarify it. I think that The Legend of Zelda as a franchise is the personification of 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah, that's
Like
fair.
the big one for me is just, Ish, was it you who brought up the fact that this like Breath of the Wild is the first game that tried to have real combat?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
it
the
was
first
great.
game that tried to have.
Good
anything.
job. It's fucking jank and not great.
Yeah, the
No,
fact that the
that's
flurry
so-
rushes take your weapon's durability is fucking horseshit.
Like,
Yeah,
and I'm going to beat the deadest of horses right now. Like, this is now a zombie horse that I am having to kill and beat again. But
Mhm.
what the only real progression in Breath of the Wild is heart containers and stamina,
Yeah.
and that is, and what I can only view as an RPG, as an open world game, kind of shitty.
so
Like,
I'm
you can like
Because the main thing though is that like I can understand where you're coming from. I agree with that, and I disagree with that, because like in other Zeldas you have a lot more tools, whereas Breath of the Wild, the design philosophy is, okay, we gave you all of your tools at the start, have fun with them.
And
Yeah,
that's
also-
perfectly fine, but in a game as vast and long as Breath of the Wild can be, that's a fucking waste.
so
That's fair.
I
That
just
is
want
fair.
to I just want to address that statement of those are the only 2 kind of like progression mechanics. I think that's just factually wrong, in the sense that for every dungeon you do, you unlock a brand new ability.
Yeah, but they're pretty fucking bog standard, dude. Like one
They
of
are.
them
Well,
is
they
Mifa, like
can
Mifa's
be
Grace.
rock standard, but people have figured out how to do cool stuff with
And-
them.
and
That's
that's-
fine.
Yeah.
But
Like Rivali's Gale's good, and I like Mifa's Grace is just a revive, and the armor is just armor.
Just Keegs.
Yeah.
You gotta equip the letter
Ah, fantastic.
and
Yeah.
then use it on them.
But as
Mhm.
if I can just say one thing, like, what is one of the best things that, like, okay, I don't know, this is obviously something that not everyone is going to agree with, but I
Yeah.
think that I'm also going to say this, I'm not actually a huge fan of most open world games as I think about it.
Yeah,
like,
me neither.
I'm a pretty casual Fallout fan. I didn't like Skyrim that much.
Me
I
neither.
thought GTA 5 story was okay, but I felt that the open world was an
I
afterthought.
like open worlds
Mhm.
as long as they're like well designed. But
Yeah,
I
I'm with
find a
Ish
lot
on
of
this
them
one.
are-
Yeah, but well designed is also very subjective, and that's a whole other podcast to have.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'll say, like, one thing that I did always like, and something that I always appreciated about Skyrim was, man, I can't wait to find something new to use for a while. And I
Yeah.
feel like Zelda, I feel like Breath of the Wild has, like, my fucking god, I think that the durability mechanic for weapons is the stupidest thing I have ever seen in an open world game.
Because the issue that I have with that is, on the one hand, you feel really, really smart the first time that you realize, oh, if I use a bomb on these guys, they'll drop their weapons. But on the other hand, it's like you need some form of, even if it's just Link hauling off and punching a moblin in the face, it's like some form of attack that's not the bomb would be nice.
That and like I can just say this. One of the most, like I said, I feel like the issue with that is that it's always undercutting. Man, oh wow, look at this cool sword. Oh, look at this cool spear. Not gonna use it. I don't want to. Because man, I'm never like. Oh man, I'm probably not gonna be able to find another one like this for a while.
It's the survival horror thing, but like to the umpteenth degree.
And it's not.
It is not as bad as survival horror. The problem with that in survival horror, that's the mechanic.
Yeah, in survival horror,
use
that's the point. This is an open world game that is basically an RPG in my eyes.
You're an amazingly handsome twink. You should not have to worry about this shit.
Yeah.
And also, can I just say
throwing
that
their
like,
arms at you?
Bottom floor key. God, I'm sorry.
Trust me, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
Because I hate backseat gaming, especially when we're in the middle of a fucking podcast. But like I said, I've played this game 5 times.
I haven't been looking at
played
Keegan.
this section 10.
Yeah.
It hurts.
No,
it hurts
so,
you wander
anyway,
around.
Guys,
Then with you, I've just been looking straight ahead, not at him.
Yeah, like I've not been looking at the thing because I'm just like, oh fuck, I don't want to.
Yeah,
but
this is
what was
very
your point?
secondary. Yeah.
I have now forgotten what I was going to say.
Okay,
Oh,
so
sorry,
my counter to the weapon durability. Now, I'm not going to defend the mechanic. I'm going to defend the idea of the mechanic. The mechanic and the implementation itself is fucking stupid. I agree with Tristan. You should have some kind of like default punch with your fist or something. But the idea of weapon durability and then breaking easily to incentivize exploration and like harvesting weapons, I think that's a good idea in theory. It just isn't executed.
Yeah,
Yes,
in
the
practice,
issue is that
it's
even
real
with that, you don't have an infinite inventory, so you can't actually do that.
Which then goes into the Croxy thing of like you can upgrade the inventory.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
but
you need
also
to find
beyond
them.
that, like, can I just say that I think it's stupid that, like, okay, let's say we need to keep the durability system. Why is there not a place where you can repair the weapons?
Yeah, that would be nice.
They
Or honestly,
stored- Okay. Well, first of all,
Like,
I'm
and I
gonna
have one more
DM
thing
you.
to say, and Wiz, then I'll let you go.
Okay.
This is literally just a nitpick. I am genuinely upset at the idea that the Master Sword is not the weapon that does the most damage in a single swing.
yeah, that's fucking BS. Also, I wanted to point out that
it's never just been like, oh, it's the really good sword. No, it's the sword that can kill Ganon.
it's the sword that seals evil is the literal name of it. But what I would have rather had, hear me out, right? So you start out with a Master Sword that's completely depowered, and it just does like scratch damage, and then perhaps after every Guardian, it gets a power up. That would have
That's
been a better way to
rad!
do
That's
it.
cool!
That would have been
That's
great.
what they did in Wind Waker. That's
Yeah,
what happened in
Yeah,
Wind Waker.
they did that once. You get it halfway, and then you do that. So Keegs, I'm gonna just DM you
Okay.
like anything. You were in the right spot earlier, off to your left.
Just like
Are
so.
you guys just playing the hot cold game now?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like, I think that would have been a better way to do it, where it's like, okay, you have a default weapon that will gradually do more damage, and then what you do is you keep all these optional weapons that have like different movesets or different damage output or different attacks, and then you just kind of scale that with the Master Sword. It's like, okay,
Or again, like, why can't Link fist fight?
yeah, exactly. Why the
That's
fuck
right,
can't he
too.
just haul up and punch a guy in the face?
Twilight Princess Link was a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
Also, can we talk about how, like, okay, guys, wow, look at all these really interesting and cool weapon designs we have. How many movesets do we have for this
Like,
brand new combat system?
6?
3 or 5, I think, is the number.
I think it's
It's 6.
okay. It's
It's
6.
6.
Yeah, because it's axe / hammer, so like short. I think it's like short sword, spear, long like big ass sword. Fuck, there's 2 more. I don't remember what they are.
And for a
off the top of
game
my
that's
head.
trying
Bow
to
and boomerang.
And for a
Okay.
game that's trying to do, like, ARPG lock-on style combat, that is pathetic.
Yeah, like that's pretty bad. But I think that on the bright side though, like they tried it, and
to be
I
fair,
hope.
that's more than most character action games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing about character action games though is that you unlock movesets, not necessarily just weapons. But that's neither here nor there. The thing that I was gonna get at is like, what if? Because I think that that's a really good. It's not good now in the first one, but it might serve as good groundwork for the next one if Nintendo gets their shit
Wiz had
together.
a point that he needed to make about this.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
wait,
So,
what's
yeah,
the point?
couple things, since because I've gained even more opinions as this conversation has gone on. First of all, like jumping back a little bit, when I was talking about how you would need the NPCs to be like more like direct talk. Starting, would that be sucking the personality out of these games for me to
A little
do that?
bit.
But
A little
on the
bit.
other hand, it's like, no. You know why? Because Zelda did this before in what I think is probably the most intriguing of the games, Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Everyone operates on a set schedule in that game for the side quests, and there's pretty much always someone you can talk to that knows what someone else is doing at any given time. So it is and all of those characters are still incredibly interesting and fun. So you can have them like everyone telling you like what they've heard and everything, and still have characters with personality. You can still do that. So,
and they have a pretty decent they have a choice-based dialogue system for a lot of stuff. So it's like, why not just have an option that says like ask about rumors? And it's like, to be fair, that's very Mass Effect. Like, tell me more about the Citadel.
Well,
tell me more. Tell me more.
Really
Tell me more. Tell me more. Like, did he have
or the Final Fantasy II problem? Like,
But I also feel like those are questions that you should at least be able to ask.
Yeah, that's fair. So, Wiz, what was your next point?
So the next thing that I wanted to bring up, and it ties directly into the whole thing about the sequel, because like to kind of move the thing along. Here's my big concern about the sequel. Because despite all the big debate we've been having, despite the fact that in some cases we're not so sure if Breath of the Wild's all that great, in other cases we're not entirely we're pretty sure it's the best thing ever. At the end of the day, it got rave fucking reviews.
It should not.
Yeah.
It
should
is
not
a-
have.
Because it was playing to what game critics like.
Yeah.
And it's what makes me very afraid that we are going to see Breath of the Wild 2 actually just be Breath of the Wild Part 2.
Breath of the Wild 2 Electric Boogaloo.
No big
disagree.
change. None of these no change.
See, I'm with Ish on this one. I disagree because like Nintendo does try to innovate a little bit. It's just sometimes not enough.
That's fair.
But also,
That's
like,
fair.
okay,
That's
let's
fair.
look at-
But here's
But
why.
Let
hold
the
on,
man
hold
finish
on.
his point, Wiz.
But here's why I'm specifically concerned about this, because you're right. Usually Nintendo's really, really good about this. But it's not just, they're using the same Link. It's not just, they're using the same engine. It's not just, they're doing it on the same system. It's the same Hyrule, y'all.
It's
Majora's Mask.
It's the exact same map.
Wiz. Majora's Mask was the same map. It was the same people.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't the same map, dude.
It was not the same map.
It was a
Not even
slightly
fucking
remixed map with the same environments. Like,
Okay, it
they
had the same. No,
created,
it did, dude.
like,
It did.
what,
though.
5 new assets?
It did not. That
It
is
did not.
a thing
'Cause
you made up.
Instead of the Deku Forest, you had a full swamp area. Instead of the Zora's Domain, completely different area.
And yes, it's the same character models, but they're all completely same person.
But I think the
Nintendo,
point that Ish is trying to make is that
we have
Nintendo
no
can make a
proof
sequel where
that
that
they
happens.
won't. We
Yeah.
have no proof that they won't innovate and change it up. They always
And
receive
that's
change.
true, too.
It's Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's
This
true
is not
too.
the first time they've made a game that received.
I'm just
a
saying.
bajillion tens that
I'm
people
just
didn't
saying.
like.
More than usual, I am concerned.
That's
Because
fair.
I've
That's a
never
fair
seen. I've never seen them use like the exact same Hyrule map.
I just,
Yeah,
That
like,
and
I don't-
Nintendo does have a bit of a problem of when they find the formula that works, they just never fucking
Yeah,
change.
because we talked about this earlier.
But that's the
I
other thing.
still-
And that's
let,
the other
let
thing.
Let Ish finish his point. So Ish, what were you gonna say?
I still disagree that they, like, yes, they don't change the formula, but they work on the formula. They change certain things to find
Yeah.
what really works.
Because like when I brought it out earlier, I said that when I brought it up earlier, I was like, my issue is that when they experiment with this formula, they don't always seem to take things far enough. They play it a little bit too safe in these innovations, in that they don't keep them or iterate upon them. It's just, okay, we threw this at the drawing board. It worked for one game. We're not going to bother doing it again.
But like my thing is,
Good job.
this is also a new Nintendo. That's
Ish, you're cutting out.
this Nintendo. Okay, sorry. This Nintendo now is living in the ghost of the Wii U.
hmm
The Wii U was an astronomical failure. Like, it's probably going to go down in history as like one of the big major company we'll ever have.
Yeah.
And very safe, or
Yes, you're
innovate
still
a
cutting
lot.
out.
Don't repeat this.
No, he's fine now.
No, mine.
Okay,
he's,
he's cutting out for me though.
Yeah, for mine, it's
Oh.
like he's still cutting like fucking.
Shit. Okay.
Ah,
Well,
crap.
what he was saying was that the Wii U was such a failure that Nintendo has to play it at least somewhat safe from now on.
No, they're either going to have to play it safe, or they're going to have to innovate a lot.
See, I think
And
they
I
should
don't
be
know,
with
to
an
me,
issue
like-
of marketing, not anything inherent to the.
Yeah,
console.
no, it's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
the actual system. With the
I
Wii U.
disagree. The
It
Wii
was-
U itself
disagree.
is shit.
Yeah.
on.
It was pretty lame.
It had so what's its big gimmick? The gamepad. The gamepad was heavy, clunky, acted like a Fisher Price toy, and had a battery of 2 hours and a half.
But the Wii U had the best Nintendo game of all time on it.
Like the Wii U had 5 good games worth playing, and that's it.
Yep.
And one of them's not on the Switch.
Yeah, Wonderful 101.
Let's fucking talk about that, shall we?
But like, the Wii U was born to fail because it was never good from its inception.
Yeah. Because, like, even, I would even say, like, despite selling super well, I think the Wii could also be considered somewhat of a failure because, like, what games came out of the Wii that were good for third-party games? Basically none. You've got 2 No More Heroes games and Red Steel 2. That's it.
Also, let's talk about... The Wii was basically just... The Wii was a vessel for shitty ports.
Yeah, oh yeah. Whereas the Switch is a vessel for phenomenal ports, but that's neither here nor there. So do we have any more points about Breath of the Wild, or shall we move on to a different Zelda?
I'd say we should move on at this point.
I think we should move on. So I think we've exhausted BOTW.
I say let's give, because we've went on for way longer than I thought we would about Breath of the Wild. I say we just give our favorites and least favorite Zelda, starting with Pin.
Okay. So yeah, Wiz, you go first.
That's a list because it's like I find a reason to praise pretty much every Zelda game.
Yeah, but your
Just
favorite is
go for
clearly
number
Wind
one
Waker.
and
Favorites
number
win.
zero,
Favorites
dude.
Wind Waker. Favorite, like personal favorite, is Wind Waker. Number 1 with a bullet, and the close second would probably be Majora's Mask.
Okay.
And 0, like your least favorite.
Least favorite. I haven't really played them all.
That's fair.
I was. That's a toughie. Like, of what I played, I liked Oracle, but it still stands as just like I have not been able to really get into that one.
The Seasons is my worst one.
Seasons is the worst one for you?
Seasons is my worst one that I've played.
I think on a technicality, it's my worst one.
Yeah.
I disagree. So my favorite is still Wind Waker, but my least favorite, like with a goddamn bullet, is Twilight Princess.
Really? Okay, we'll
The
have to
only
talk about.
fun thing in Twilight Princess is the Beyblade.
That's fair.
The story's boring, the character design's boring and drab, the beginning boring and drab. Everything is
the
boring and
beginning's
drab
the
except for
worst.
Midna. Midna's a shining star in a sea of boring, drab, and gray.
I like some of the updated designs for Link and Zelda and Ganondorf, but like otherwise, and that honestly that last boss fight's fucking awesome, but everything
I
else.
agree
kind
with
of
you
sucks.
for Ganon, not for Link or Zelda, because all
know
it
what?
is the classic design, but take out all the color.
You know what? I do see a point here. On like, I would make the argument that like it's given it was there was definitely like, the biggest sweeping Hyrule field that we had at the time, and like I like the designs as far as like on like a realism level. All of it made it feel like it was much more of like an epic kind of tale.
Yeah.
But I do see your point that, like, especially coming off of Wind Waker,
I was gonna say that it's
so bright and colorful, and it's just an interesting world. I do absolutely see what you mean.
Because I was gonna say
to be dark and gray to be realistic. I think that's a stupid idea.
I agree, and I was gonna say that I think that like Twilight Princess. Before we move on and talk about, because I'm pretty sure Wind Waker is gonna be everybody's favorite, or at least like the clear favorite that the majority has. So we'll probably talk about that. But like the issue that I have with Twilight Princess, and I kind of like it, is that it's a series of really good set pieces strung together by some really fucking boring parts. Like, so to elaborate on that, it's like the first time you're in Hyrule Castle, even if it is drab and gray and like weird, it's still intriguing enough.
Remember,
The Ghost People's kind of cool.
Yeah, the Ghost People idea is kind of cool.
remember how you finish the third dungeon and you're thinking, sweet, get ready for the fourth dungeon where I need to go fight Zant, but then he's just there and he takes your fucking shit.
Like, okay, the big thing with that Zelda specifically is she has no personality, and you're coming off of Tetra.
Yeah,
Eh.
that's fair. But I was also going
Well,
to
to
say,
be fair, no, to be fair, that particular Zelda is built to not be in most of the story.
yeah. So there's that. There's the Bokoblin King fights. Like those are all super good.
Oh,
I really like those. Those are good spectacle fights. Like the joust that you do on the
Golden
bridge.
King.
Or is that what he is?
Oh,
I
yeah.
couldn't remember his name.
Oh my god.
But like the joust that you do on the bridge is really good, and then later you fight him in Hyrule Field, and he's armored the fuck up because he's like, "Fuck you, Link, you piece of shit."
Yeah,
Dude,
that like
on
the
the
idea
one
that, like,
hand-
Link has
on the
kind of, like,
one
his own
hand, it's
port
like-
from Shadows of Mordor is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Colin is such the scrappy do of this game. That's a
he
little
really is.
frustrating. But on the other hand, I felt it. When
So I had
you
two
see
other
that when you
points.
see that look on Link's face when he rides around the corner
one more point,
and
too.
he sees that Colin is being kidnapped by this fucking monster, and you see like the rage on his face, it's like,
So
okay,
to that I
damn,
say,
that's cool.
that's about the only emotion that Link will ever show in that game.
Yeah. So
Because
I
the
also
point-
I wanted to point out two other set pieces before we move on, and they are the fucking the sumo stuff is really great. I think
that's kind of fun.
it's fun, and I think it's decent world building where it's like, how do the Gorons do things? They fucking sumo each other. That's awesome. And the last one I was going to say is, even if the rest of the area is kind of crappy, I like that final boss fight, especially considering the final part of that is Ganondorf going, hey, this is the sword they tried to use to behead me, and it's mine now, and we're going to have a really cool sword fight.
That was
And
kinda
it's
cool.
mine now.
But, okay,
Something
what I
about
wanted to say about
and it's
that is like
mine now.
that Ganondorf is interesting. So is Zant and Midna. If only
Yeah.
Link was, because like we're going off of Wind Waker. Wind Waker Link, shockingly, has a personality.
Yeah, because
I
he's
know,
got
it's
a family,
controversial.
and he's really expressive, and like,
Yeah, he says nothing, which is in classic Link tradition. But he's not a blank slate. He shows a lot of emotion through character faces,
especially
and animation.
especially whenever it comes to getting slammed into buildings,
Yeah.
which happens twice.
Yeah.
Why does that shit happen to this boy twice?
Or when he's so determined to get stupid, he runs off a fucking cliff.
Yeah, that's great.
I love it. He runs off the cliff.
And he's so sad to say bye-bye to Gam Gam.
Poor
Yeah.
Gan.
Man, fucking
Poor
Gam
Gam.
Gam's the best. She
I
makes
love
you
Gam
soup.
Gam.
She gives you soup.
Give me
Gives you
big
the
soup.
fucking soup.
That soup is basically steroids, too.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's soup. What kind? Chunky.
Chicken fucking noodle. Aw, yeah.
I was trying to make the Family Guy
She's giving
reference.
you them
That's
hearty
good.
vegetables and meat stew.
Chunky.
So like, yeah, I think that Twilight Princess has, like I said, a couple of good, like really good moments strung
Wind
together by
Waker
has
some
a-
really fucking
Now,
bland
here's
and
the-
uninspired stuff.
Now here's the thing. Wind Waker is good for that personality. Its direct sequels build on that so
Yeah,
much.
I
It makes
gotta
so
be
much
honest.
better.
I prefer Phantom Hourglass, if only
Can't we-
because
Can we talk about our true hero,
Linebeck.
Linebeck?
yeah,
The truest of
dun, 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 dun,
Linebeck-
dun, dun, dun.
Linebeck is up there with
Okay,
Sam.
Wiz, could you please fucking stop? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Linebeck is up there with Sam from Lord of the Rings in terms of that's the real hero.
Yeah, man, he's so fucking good. And
Or
I love
Yasuo
the
from JoJo Part 4.
Linebeck,
fucking-
professional crate inspector.
I fucking love the bit where it's like through the course of a bunch of fucking sword fights, you learn that the reason that the
The pirate
woman
chick
keeps
is
coming
chasing-
after you is like, yeah, he was gonna marry me or whatever, but like because he's such a big dick G. But it turns out that he's a massive fucking coward, and I hate that.
Well, no, he
because
leaves her
because
because he's a coward.
What?
He leaves her at the altar because he's a coward.
Yeah,
No,
that's
here's
fucking
what. No,
great.
I remember this very distinctly.
Yeah.
I remember exactly what the story is. Jolene falls for Linebeck because she thinks that he saved her intentionally from a giant squid monster.
Mhm.
When in fact, what happened was he rammed the boat into it, trying to run away.
That's great.
That's such a
And
fucking,
the
like,
reason
Zap
that she-
Brannigan
He's a
move.
terrible coward.
What was that,
And-
Keith?
Oh, no, it's
It's
such a
Zap
fucking like
Brannigan.
Zap Brannigan move.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's basically just that Brannigan.
Yeah, but my favorite part of his character arc is that at the end he learns to be a big dick OG.
Yeah. Did you catch in the background during the scene where you first find Tetra turned to stone on the ghost ship, and like he's leaning against her while Oshus is going on his spiel, and you just see him accidentally knock
Knock
Tetra
her
over?
Yeah, I
And he's
remember
just like,
that. That
and
was
he's just like,
amazing.
oh god, oh shit, oh fuck.
So I was gonna say like, yeah. So if I can give mine, I'd say it's probably like my top two are Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker, and then my bottom one. Now I don't necessarily know if this is fair because it is half of a game, like technically speaking. But my bottom one is Oracle of Seasons because like I preferred Ages. Ages is very puzzle focused. And it's very like, oh, let's actually explore this world. And then Seasons is very action and combat focused. And I don't hate that, but I also don't care for it as much. So it's
I
like
like them both like equally.
That's
I
fair.
think.
that's fair. Because like if we had gotten them as one game, I think I would have probably liked that. Would probably be my top one. but I just think that like Aegis does such a good job of like puzzle solving and making you think creatively and stuff like that it's just oh fuck man, it's so good. But it's not as good as the full package of Phantom Hourglass and Wind Waker.
Yeah.
So Keeks, what's yours? What's your top two and your bottom?
I'm gonna be honest. I can only really give an opinion. I think on Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild. It would go Breath of the Wild, followed very, very, very closely by Wind Waker. I'd give Breath of the Wild just to give it like a number because I don't have any bottom ones. It's gonna be like an 8 out of 10 for Breath of the Wild and a 7 out of 10 for Wind Waker.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Could we also just like what are some hot takes that you guys have for this series before we gush about Wind Waker? 'Cause I don't think Ocarina of Time's that good.
That's barely a hot take at this point.
I don't think Link to the Past is that good either.
My hot take is that Skyward Sword's hot shit. It's amazing, and
it rocks.
People who bitch like about the motion controls. It's just like I don't understand. I
understand it.
I genuinely think. Well, here's the thing. I understand it. I understand like what they're saying about it. Like I understand that would be frustrating. My issue is like I had never once in my entire life experienced these wild issues that these people that all the YouTubers talking about. Like, oh no, it's completely unresponsive. Like,
no,
are you fucking kidding?
Sometimes.
It was so responsive. I felt like an asshole swinging the sword around. Like,
so I felt it sometimes, and I think a big problem with it is if half your audience cannot grasp your main method of control, you fucked up.
Yeah, I'm with Ash on this one.
No, I think that's way too lenient. If 10% can't grasp it, you fucked up.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying, like, clearly, like half the people did not for fucking Skyward Sword because it's divisive as fuck.
Yeah, like I think that honestly, that's probably the most complex that swordplay in Zelda ever really got, and it's a fucking shame that they didn't nail it because we're probably never going to see that happen.
Awesome rival fights.
Yeah, dude, those rival fights are fucking awesome. Like I haven't played it, but I've seen those fights. They're super good.
Set the Groose loose.
I thought we were talking about Girahim.
Oh yeah, we are talking about Girahim.
I just want Girahim, but then he just brings up Groose.
I just also want to talk about Groose.
The Groose is loose.
The creator of the theme of Rape Horse, our savior from Berserk.
Groose Howard for
Let
KOF
me go.
when.
Hell
Groose
no.
Howard. Oh god, Groose might be one of my favorite rival characters in a game.
He also has a very Linebeck-esque character arc where he starts out as a dickhead.
It's very Linebeck-esque, but
he
like
starts out as a dickhead, and then he turns into a hero later on.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, and the interesting thing is like Groose actually. How do I put this? Like, it's not that Groose is like in the it's the difference between like Linebeck's a fucking coward, but usually he's trying to do kind of the right thing. He's just such a wiener. He's just such a weenie that he can't manage it. Groose, what happens with Groose is more just like a change of perspective. He just doesn't have room in his head for the idea of, oh, what's Link trying to do that's so fucking important, and why is he so going to be so cool?
Linebeck is Gohan. Groose is Tien Shinhan.
Oh my god, you're right. You're super right.
Now, applaud me, mortals.
And my favorite part about it is like, yeah, Linebeck's with you throughout the entire game through the thick and the thin.
Yeah.
Even though he's like kind of just a support. I love that Groose disappears after the intro to then reappear halfway through the story in the single best way possible.
Jump from the sky.
Jump from the fucking sky to tackle you as you skydive. Just.
Yeah, that's good. But
that's the first time Link and Zelda were actually dating in game.
Link's fucking scream when that happens.
I gotta say though, I prefer Lindbeck's thing of like, oh, his character arc goes through the entire game, and you can see it in side quests, you can see it in the main story. Like you can augment that character arc however you want. That's fucking great.
I still love the line, like one of the throwaway lines you get whenever you do one of the Jolene fights, and he pops out of the crate. He's like, "Linebeck, professional crate inspector."
Yeah,
that's kind of catchy.
Yeah, that's really good.
Also, I do think that Linebeck is definitely better written. It's just that I compared them because they're in the same ilk of an actual side character in a Zelda game.
Yeah, they super are. So let's all gush about Wind Waker, and then
I love Wind Waker
because I think that's the last thing that we really have to talk about in the Zelda cast.
Well, we were on BOTW for a while. I have some minor things that I'd like to talk about it still.
Okay.
Frankly,
also, wait, I was wrong. I said
really
my
like to move
favorite
on
Zelda
from
game
Breath of the
earlier,
Wild.
by the way. My favorite
So-
Zelda game was not Wind Waker. It's Okami. I forgot.
Fucking Christ, Ish.
Dude, you can keep saying that I'm wrong, but like,
No, it's super good. It's
Why
just
are you
like-
booing me? I'm right.
it's better than any Zelda game.
Oh, it is. It is.
Keeg.
In every regard except for one, and it's fucking pacing.
Okay. So I think the pacing is solved by one thing. Just take a break after you beat a game in it.
That's fair because it is 3 games in one. But I would have much rather had
I'd say, like,
okay,
four.
we
Just
4.
slice
Okay,
it.
4
Just
is
like-
a fair. I would have much rather had like okay, we put these games on the disc, so it's like okay, you finished Okami episode 1. Would you like to carry your data over into episode 2?
Yeah, if
Or you
Kamiya had
unlock
put
it.
like a stopping point between, I think it would have been better.
Yeah. Like even if it's just a fucking title screen, it's like Okami will return in Okami 2 a woo harder. Like you know
To
what I
be
mean?
continued immediately.
Yeah, like something like that. Because that's fine. Like, I just think the issue with that is very much, it's that, and it's also like, oh, I fought Orochi once, now I get to fight him again, and then I get to fight him again in the fucking final boss, like, rush. And honestly, I find that boss fight, while it is very well designed, goes on for far too long for it to happen 3 times. Even if thematically it makes sense that it happens that many times.
I still liked it. I still like ended up liking the Orochi fight, and I liked almost every major boss fight or secret boss fight. Like, did you ever beat the Hound's boss fight, the secret one?
No.
That shit is awesome because the last one is a one-on-one.
Yo, that's great.
And guess what?
Nice.
The game otherwise is so easy that you don't even need to use your items outside of that fight.
Yeah, that's fair.
When is the multi-doctor like special for Zelda coming where you find all the links where all the
Oh,
links
that'd
are
be nice.
together? Because something funny is like Hyrule Warriors happened. There's like everyone across time's there. None of the links meet.
Yeah, that's a shame. But
you mean Enter the Linkverse?
Yeah, enter the Linkverse.
enter
Enter
the
the
Link-
Zeldaverse.
Linkverse.
Just
Okay,
enter
damn
the,
it,
I
enter
Link-
the
gotta
Zeldaverse.
ask, which Link do you think is the one that got divorced? Which one is sad divorcee? Link?
Twilight Princess.
Easily.
Twilight Princess.
Zelda
easily.
took the fucking
Twilight
kids.
Princess is the Spider-Man noir of that crossover.
Oh, it is and it's not because at least Spider-Man Noir has something to say.
At least Spider-Man
Yeah, no-
noir has a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I love that. My friend Will sent some art like about exactly that, the Enter the Zeldaverse gag, and it's just and 3 of the links standing there. It's like this could not possibly get any weirder, and then it's fucking CDI Link. It can get weirder.
Oh no. Yeah. So like, shall we move on to a different Zelda,
Yeah.
or
well,
did you want to get those quick points out of the way?
just some quick points about Breath of the Wild. Specifically about Breath
okay.
of the Wild 2, just real quick, because these
Okay.
were things I wanted to bring up as far as like
Alright.
trying to improve it. Here's the main one. As far as because you guys were talking briefly about like what would be better other than the spirit boosts to get at the end of each game. Why not like make the climbing difficult, but in turn the beasts give you traversal items.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Give you
Like,
The
like
grappling
one
hook.
of the
Where was the
yeah.
grappling
Get a
hook?
grappling hook. The grappling hook is like one of the. I'm about to gush about Wind Waker. Like it's segue immediately into it. The grappling hook's one of the best fucking items in Zelda's
It's
history.
one of the 3 or
easily.
4 items you can use as a weapon in Wind Waker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's-
like the cool part about that is like all as much shit as you guys can give Twilight Princess, like the double grappling hook though is fucking awesome.
The double claw shot was done way better in fucking Skyward Sword though. That's the problem.
I haven't played Skyward, so.
But like also think of like you like here's an arrow like something you can use with your arrows that's just a zip line.
Mhm.
Or even just something like even something like the fucking Pegasus boots where you can fucking like leap long gaps.
That'd be nice, yeah.
Just like use that, put some shrines behind those, and maybe like design the overworld in such a way that it's like you can see them, so you can see those particular shrines, but you can tell you can't fucking reach them.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
What
or
I
like
would actually
honestly,
suggest also would be to make the Hyrule Castle that is clearly haunted, like more of a Metroidvania style dungeon where you just keep coming back with new abilities and working on it, like picking
That could
away
be
at
that
it.
could be
thing
good
is,
too.
they did that with the Ocean Temple in Phantom Hourglass, and they did it with the temple in Spirit Tracks as well.
Yeah.
They
and
did
it's
both
like-
of those.
I don't know how I feel about that because on the one hand, it's like, yeah, you've got this really good sense of progression and you always have a central location that you're returning to advance the plot or explore the world. But on the other hand, it's like, I think that those were some of the weakest parts of those games.
They were, but they showed a lot of potential that just was never real.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, again, that's sort of the thing of what you were talking about earlier. It's like they come up with these interesting concepts, but once they don't do as well immediately, they kind of just scrap them rather than try and work on them.
Yep.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all I'm thinking. It's like
The return to dungeon items is especially like that is a big plus, honestly.
And you can make the fourth one. You can just keep Rivali's Gale, but it's not a spirit. It's just like what's the fucking thing in Link Between Worlds? The
rods?
Oh no, not Link Between. Is it Link Between Worlds? Yeah, like there's the wind rod that you can just like the tornado rod, I think is what it's called, that just like blows you upward into the fucking air.
Yeah,
like,
and I think
something
that's
like that.
good because it's like, okay, we have this map, and now we have a bunch of unique ways. We have the same map, but you now have more unique ways to travel across it because most people have already seen it once.
Well, final point on Breath of the Wild, and like we can use this to segue into other Zelda games because it is something that I'm going to give the other Zelda games to.
Yeah.
Because yes, there is a gratification to just seeing seeing the mountain and saying you can go there, but that could somewhat exist in actual Zelda game.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not sure if they ever really capitalized because here's
it does
the thing,
in Ocarina.
Because picture, if you will, imagine if you will, going across the overworld, traversing on your horse, and you see a treasure chest or even just an open air heart piece over yonder, like maybe isolated on some big pillar or like way up top or something, and you're looking around and you're wondering how could you get up there with your current kit or if at all, and that's when you see like a switch, you see like some unique switch that you've never seen before, or like say take in this room, you see some pole jutting out and you can clearly interact with it, but you know you don't have the thing to do it with. But you do know by that at some point you are going to enter a dungeon, you're going to be halfway through it, and it is going to show you pretty much all the different things you can do with that item, and one of them is going to be that thing that you saw. It's going to be that, but it's going to be that you're going to recognize that jeweled little target as that is something that you can do with a claw shot. You're going to recognize that post jutting out as something you can use with a grappling hook.
Yeah, because like even though it's super formulaic, one thing I will give every Zelda is that like even though there's certain design conventions that carry over through most, if not all of them, it's like okay, every time you get an item, you're locked in the room and have to solve a puzzle using that item or like to learn how it works.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And
granted, not all the Zelda games design around this very well. I can only think of a few times in Twilight Princess that it was really immediately I don't know what that is yet, but I bet I'm gonna find out.
I think
and
honestly,
then you start singing "Let's Beyblade."
Fucking Christ! I was gonna say that like I think that to a lesser extent, Ocarina tutorializes its items the best of the ones I've played, and that's probably the only thing I will give it that does hold up is like if this was the first game that you played where these items appeared, not only did it have to be good for its time, it holds up extremely well. If you were like, like I could show it to my 6-year-old brother and he'd go, okay, I can figure this out.
Yeah, because well, in the older games, outside of the bow and arrow, the items were never really used for puzzles.
No.
They were almost exclusively combat tools. And I feel like this is something interesting that the 3D Zelda games completely changed, is that they were almost exclusively for puzzles, with maybe the hammer and grappling hooks sometimes being used as weapons.
Yeah. No, I agreed. Like, I 100% agree that that's, like, a thing that I like that they changed between 2D and 3D, and that they should really start capitalizing on perhaps a little bit more with the way that Breath of the Wild's items currently work, or, like, its abilities currently work. Because it does those things extremely well. Where it's like, okay, I can use stasis upgraded to stop an enemy in their tracks and fuck them up, or I can use it to launch myself or do all these other things.
At the end of the day, it's like the things that Breath of the Wild is choosing to do, it's doing very, very well. It's just that
Yeah.
in some cases it throws out some other concepts, like to make room for those,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't always feel like it's for the better.
Yeah, agreed. So, shall we
So
kind of move on?
that's our
to-
chilled take. Let's just,
So-
are we just gonna? Is this the gush on Wind Waker
Okay,
point?
either we can gush on Wind Waker, or because I think we've all expressed that Ocarina doesn't hold up. So I think I'd like to actually talk about like why that is, even though
Oh, well,
it's
I
a pretty
can-
cold take.
I can get on. I can get in
it's
on
like,
that too
it's
because
a
again,
take that's
'cause it-
used to be hot, but like everyone on the internet has it now.
well,
Yeah, that's fair.
again, there are points I agree with on that fucking sequelitis video.
Uh-huh.
Even if I like, I agree with the overall point. I agree with some point, like smaller points that he makes. Here's the thing about it, as far as the sequelitis goes, try as I may, try as I might, I can't separate Ego Raptor, the guy, the calm comedian who is also telling me what sounds like some well-informed, interesting points on game design, and it
Very
could just be
good
his own
animation.
thing. And Aaron Hansen, that dumbass on Game Grumps who skips every fucking tutorial and then complains the game isn't telling him what to do.
Now, to be fair though, like Best Friends did that a couple of times too, and we're all fans of them. But I'd also say that like,
Correct, but
I don't think Game Grumps is funny or interesting at
But
all,
Pat
except
has-
for clips.
But Matt and Pat have never acted like they know better about game design,
And
than
they've never
designers
actively
themselves.
blamed the game.
They've never actively blamed the game whenever it's
Mhm.
very clearly their own fault.
Yeah, that's fair. Because the thing, like, I just really, I think I'm gonna say this, and this, I don't know how hot of a take this is. I think Aaron is a smarmy cunt. Like, he's a fucking, like, I'm a pretentious douche, so I know what a pretentious douche looks like, and that is the epitome of, like, oh, I'm gonna stroke my fucking ego, but also be like, it's completely unwarranted. Just because you play a lot of games for something doesn't mean that you're all that informed on game design. Like, just because, say, like you and I and Keegs were gonna make that fighting game, like, that, I don't know a lot. I play a lot of fighting games, that doesn't mean I know much about their design.
Yeah, but I do think like there's a point where that becomes just. Like, I still think that he has every right to talk about game design and state his
Mhm.
opinions.
Yeah, of course.
I just think that, like again, all outside of the Zelda one, the other sequel editors are pretty excellent, honestly.
Oh, that Mega Man one's fucking phenomenal. I just think the issue becomes, like,
He thinks
Skating-
every game should be the Mega Man X tutorial.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's of the one school of thought, really. He thinks that there's exactly one objective way to do things, and any other way is doing it wrong.
yeah, and I don't think that that's very, I find it very ironic that he's a creative guy who works in a fairly creative industry, and that's his opinion on game design.
As
What
far
is
as
it?
Aaron's personality, here's the thing. I
Yeah.
have heard a lot of people do exactly what Aaron does and try and present their opinion as fact. Like the
Oh, no.
I mean, I do this regularly.
Oh
honestly.
no,
It is-
you guys are talking about me now.
No, I think you're
Oh,
talking
no.
about this entire discussion.
Yeah, I think he's talking
But
about
here's
all
the
of
thing.
us.
I think it's just it's a personality thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not that kind of guy. Because overall, Aaron does seem like he actually gives a shit about trying to keep Game Grumps entertaining and things.
Mhm.
Remember, like, I still remember he fucking broke down almost. Like, that made that extremely, like, everyone got up his ass about, why didn't you do Ghoul Grumps? Why didn't you do Ghoul Grumps? You owe us Ghoul Grumps. And
Yeah, they don't know them shit.
Exactly, but then
Well,
it's
it
like,
was from the
but he
people who
felt
did compilations. They're
the
like,
thing,
our livelihoods right on this.
Yeah.
no, it was just like the fucking fanboys talking about how no, we need the fucking Ghoul Grumps. Why won't you give it to us? You owe it to us. And then there was that fucking sobering moment where he actually made an apology video where he seemed so genuinely upset that everyone kind of went, "Oh fuck, we were assholes, weren't we? We made him sad." So I don't know. I think as far as like doing that, I think it's just like a type A personality kind of thing, like trying to make sure that your opinion is being heard. I'm not fond of doing this. I think
same.
it made very clear that it's like I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I try and make clear that usually these opinions are just my opinions. But all that being said, it's just like man, that Zelda sequelitis is hard to watch sometimes because there's a bunch of points where it's just like, just pay attention, dude.
Yeah, I've always said like
I don't
the
understand.
biggest failure of an argument is if you are unconvincing people who are on your side, then you absolutely failed.
Yeah, agreed. The point that I was going to make is like going back to Wiz's point of I don't want to step on anybody's toes. Like I think the main issue with that is, and this is more of a really pretentious personal philosophy thing that I often don't follow, especially when we're talking, because like this isn't, you know, we're friends, we know each other, we know that I'm not as much of an asshole as I actually am. But what I was going to say is like one of the philosophies that I used to abide by that I'm trying to get back into is speak exactly as loud as you need to in order to be heard. And the issue that I have with people that maybe it's just because like I don't want to shit on, say, Game Grumps more than I already have, but it's like the issue with that is that not only do they have the platforms, so they don't exactly need to talk all that loud, but they continue to like scream. It's like, dude, you're already going to talk loud enough that nobody else is going to hear. Like, there's going to be very few dissenting opinions. So, like, why are you doing it so fervently? But either way, yeah, like, the Mega Man sequelitis is really, really good.
Honestly, my only problem as far as, like, Aaron's opinions on games, as far as Game Grumps goes, it doesn't affect me shit. God,
yeah.
I really
hate
like,
that. Who the fuck cares about this internet personality, right?
You know who I am worried about, though? I'm worried about Dan.
Scenario.
I am so worried that Aaron is going to turn Dan off so many fucking games.
Well, I mean, like, okay, so here's the thing with Game Grumps. They're not people who actively play games. They're people who used to play games and kind of like games, but they really only like older games. They don't really care for. Dan kind of got into Morrowind when he was doing nothing but eating fucking pot brownies.
Yeah, same. I wish that was me.
So I think the idea that like, oh, he's turning Dan off games, like, I don't think that's really going to happen because Dan's not really game to begin with.
Because like I think the thing about Game Grumps is that like they're entertainers first, and they're like people who play games like fifth.
That's
not like I've said that a million times. I like all the Game Grumps individually. I don't like Game Grumps.
Yeah, agreed. Because I think like the thing about why we like Super Best Friends, and this is the last thing I want to talk about on this subject before we either finish or move on to a different Zelda.
Yeah.
Is that the thing about them is like those guys clearly really like everything that they play, even when it's shit. They enjoy playing.
Until they don't.
Until they don't. Yeah.
Until they don't.
They don't like everything they play. They just really like video games. And
yeah, they're just passionate about
video games and certain subjects.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've just got kind of sick every now and again of seeing Aaron shit endlessly on a Zelda game, or to a lesser extent a Sonic game. To a lesser extent, not because he does it less. To a lesser extent, because in some cases I think they reserve it.
Literally, all I know about Aaron is that I've heard him in some just random, completely unrelated music pieces I've listened to every now and then.
By Starbomb.
I mean, the big one is that he does the opening to Atomic Karate, and then for some fucking reason, the man did the rap in Infinite's theme from fucking Sonic Forces.
Really?
Yep.
That's great.
Because he's a shitty rapper that
Well, hang on. Well, here's the thing. I don't think that's actually him in the main rap.
No, not in the main one. In a cover is what I meant to say.
Yeah, in a cover.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
he did. Yeah, he did it. He did it with Nate Wants to Battle.
So.
Anyway, back to Zelda.
Shall we gush about Wind Waker, or do you guys want to talk?
I would like to gush.
I think we've said all that needs to be said about Wind Waker, really.
That's fair. Yeah, because like Link. So the TLDR of that, just to go back to our conversation, is Link has a lot of personality. The art's really good. Progression feels really, really good because of how you unlock items.
It cracks me up that it was a whole thing before this game came out of how awful it looked. People hated it.
This is one of the best looking games of all time.
It's one of the best.
Look at this game; it still holds up visually.
Look at it.
Like
this is like third behind Zone of the Enders 2 and Okami.
Yeah, like Okami.
This is an aesthetic that is timeless.
I am totally playing this, by the way, for the channel at some point.
Oh, please.
We need
I want in on that.
We need to finish Sleeping Dogs first and foremost. But right after that, this is the next one I'm doing controllers.
Okay. So,
I'm ready. My body is ready for more.
Excellent work, Reggie. So yeah, and were there any other Zeldas that you guys wanted to talk about?
I would like to. I talked about it briefly when I was brought it up as something that Breath of the Wild could totally do, I still really like Majora's Mask.
Oh, it's good. It holds up.
It's amazing how well that game fucking holds up, man.
Because like I think that's the most like this is gonna sound weird, but it's the most restrained, but like the most exploratory as well.
Well, because here's the thing, like again, mechanics that people thought fucking blow, but now they're like hailed as one of the best things in the game and in the series. The fucking time travel mechanic in that, the Groundhog Day scenario with that, it's what allows you to get to know all the characters in Termina.
Yeah, and it opens up a really interesting scenario where it's actually pretty hard to get.
Yeah. But and also, it's also just such a great aesthetic. Just barely, just like right on that edge of too dark for children to be playing it.
Oh yeah, dude, I think
it passes that edge with the Lover's side quest.
I was gonna say the Lover's side quest is pretty dark, but also like I was maybe 8 or 9 when I played Majora's Mask, and the scene very early on where the mask salesman opens his eyes and fucking throttles the shit out of you is like actually terrifying when you're a kid.
Also, there's another scene that I thought was pretty scary when I was a kid, because we did have an N64 at some point. Mm-hmm. Also, I forgot to mention the N64 where it's because gave it to me.
You cut out.
I forgot to mention when I was talking about my history. Is like I had an N64 that my uncles gave to me, and that's where I played Ocarina of Time and Mask. Mm-hmm. So, the first thing I noticed that was really dark is if you fail the side quest where the aliens are kidnapping the cows, they kidnap the little sister on that farm, then the next day she comes back,
but she's like, all spaced out,
blank-faced, completely spaced out, and like it. This is gonna sound weird. It kind of reminds me of most movies or anime's depiction of a rape victim, not like an actual real life one, but like a media version of one.
Okay, that's fair, because I was gonna say it reminds me of like someone who had a botched lobotomy.
Yeah, also that. You know what it reminds me of now in retrospect? The mother's mother from BoJack Horseman.
Oh my god, you're super right.
Yeah, because like just completely emotional, and that's it. Like it's really weird and fucked up. Like, what did they dissect her brain?
Wiz, I think you should DM Keegan the solution to this boss fight.
I know, I did.
Oh, okay.
Use the hook.
But yeah, so it's like Majora's Mask holds up. I really like the way that different characters will react to you based on the mask that you have on. I think that's really neat. I'm a big fan of the side quests in that. I think it has the best side quests in most of Zelda, if not all of it.
I'd say most, yeah.
Yeah, because like I think Wind Waker's got some really good ones, and I think that Breath of the Wilds, despite my complaint that they're not telegraphed enough, are still quite good as well.
There's some good shrine quests in Breath of the Wild. I know I wasn't that fond of many of the other miscellaneous side quests.
Yeah, that's fair.
Except for everything surrounding building your house and Hudson.
The
whole Terrytown. Hudson is a true Chad.
Oh man, it's super good.
But as far as I'm not sure about the side quests in Wind Waker. I like a lot of them. I honestly like a lot more of the minigame NPCs.
Same.
Salvatore doing his fucking battle squid minigame.
Yeah. He's so into it.
Sploosh.
What do you mean he's so into it? He couldn't be less into it.
No.
Here's the thing. He's into it as soon as you pay him.
Yeah.
I know. By the way, I know a lot of the fucking names of his NPCs in Wind Waker.
That's great.
I was calling him by their names.
If
Guy, Eskimo, and
if you ever want me to try and do like a lightning round, let me know.
Okay. So, the other one that I wanted to talk about was how many of you guys have played Link to the Past besides Ish and I?
I played it. I played it for a bit.
Didn't think it was great.
I do really like Link Between Worlds. I think that is like probably the best blend we could have asked for between like everything that's good about everyone that all the old schoolers like about classic Zelda and Link to the Past, and everything that they've been working on since. Especially as far as the characters go. That's a lot of fucking memorable characters. Oh god, what's her?
Rovio is memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god,
Like, who the fuck
Rabio's
was talking about
Rabio-
Hilda?
Well, I like. God, I feel bad. I was about to say, boy, I sure like that character, and then I just forgot her name. Who's
Yeah,
the witch? The witch character. The witch character.
Oh, she's kind of cute. But
Can I
she's,
mention this? If you can't remember a character's name, I think that's a sign that they're maybe not as good as you
Yeah,
remember.
she's
Yeah.
cute, but she's just not very. Like she.
It's
doesn't
just been a
say
minute.
anything.
Hang on.
Yeah.
She's
Like
cute,
I like
crashing
I
into
like
you,
I
and then
like
you're
a
oh,
lot
yeah.
of I like a lot of the sass she gives you whenever you call her.
That's fair. So I haven't played.
I think
Between
she makes a
Worlds.
crack. I think she makes a crack at you about running up your fucking tab for using the broom.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, like I haven't played Between Worlds, but I have played Link to the Past, and I'm sure it was revolutionary when it came out. The sprite work is really, really good, but I just don't.
Irene, that's
understand.
it.
I genuinely don't get it. Like, why is this, other than it was good in its time, so fondly
So
looked
I
upon
think
and remembered?
I think
Like,
it
I
holds up as a cool action adventure game,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been done again by many indie games and just AAA games even.
Yeah.
A million times better over and over again. And I feel like this is a weird conversation when we get into like stuff like what's the best game of all time. It's okay. Well, do we have to consider originality? Because then it's not really the best of all. Because
Stephen Fry famously said, "An original idea, a library must be full of them."
it's like if I like let's take for instance, let's take for instance Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time,
Mhm.
probably one of the most important games ever.
Oh, easily, yeah.
I don't think it belongs on anybody's 50 best games ever, simply because, all right, but if you have to use the qualifier for its time in retrospect, looking at it at a perspective, then it doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking every game, well, then why should the games that have surpassed it since?
Not be considered better. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, Ish. I completely agree.
Like, there's certain games I think from that era do hold up to like a standard of best of all time. Like, I personally don't think so, but I think you could put Final Fantasy VII because of its writing.
Yeah, FF7 has great writing, but I think
I don't
6
think
is better.
Yeah, I don't think it's the best Final Fantasy. I don't even think it's the best Square RPG from that era.
I mean, Chrono Trigger exists.
Chrono Trigger's not from the 7 era.
Oh fuck. Okay.
You got Parasite Eve
And Vagrant Story, which isn't
You
very
got
good.
Vagrant Story. You got Final Fantasy Tactics. You got Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, man,
And
I
my
love
personal
Tactics.
favorite, you got fucking Front Mission 3.
I haven't played it yet, but
It's amazing.
So yeah, no, I wholeheartedly like. It doesn't like. I think the for its time argument only really holds up when you're discussing like
Segments
what
from
came
that
after.
time.
Yeah, segments from that time, and even then, I like ish. The idea, if your qualifier is for its time, it was great. That's kind of shitty. Like I can understand saying, oh well, my nostalgia plays a big part in this because it's a purely subjective list. But even then, it's like,
Yeah, I can completely get that. But like
mhm.
at that point, if you're saying I've enjoyed games, then why not put them on there? Like,
yeah,
if I were to consider, like, for instance, I tend to like curb nostalgia as a factor in my mind. So like, if I keep nostalgia as a factor, Devil May Cry 3 is still my favorite game of all time. But
Yeah.
I think 5 surpassed it in every way.
yeah, agreed. It's kind of the same thing with like Hype will understand this one. I played a lot of Ace Combat 5 when I was growing up, but I think 4 and 0 easily surpass it.
Oh yeah, they're way better.
Yeah, and same with 7, honestly. Like 7 has its flaws, but either way, we've been going for how long, Keeks?
3 hours probably.
Yeah, we're about 2.5 hours in.
Let me
Jesus,
take a look.
okay.
We
So
are
this is a decent meaty podcast.
at 2
Yeah, so
hours,
the-
17 minutes.
A nice
Okay.
girthy a nice
Now,
girthy
I
podcast
did have a
filled with
question.
rock sirloin.
Yeah.
And Tristan, I feel like you might be able to give some insight to this because obviously, like, the legend of Link himself is the hero's journey. But I'm curious, what other Japanese influence bleed into the Legend of Zelda from like the art style?
Okay,
or stuff
I've got
like
a very
that?
specific one. So this is going to sound really so. I actually could not tell you, but I do know that Miyamoto designed the first Zelda with the design philosophy of when he was a kid, he would explore the woods behind his house, and he thought that was like this grand adventure, and he's
Yeah,
like,
a
I
lot
want
of
to capture the joy of that.
A lot of the influence for Miyamoto's games are his own.
Yeah. So, for its Japanese stuff, like I genuinely couldn't think of any because Zelda is such a Western fantasy influenced genre.
Link is supposed to be
or
Peter
thing.
Pan.
Yeah, like Link is like more or less Peter Pan.
I honestly never put that like together in my head to know, but that makes perfect sense.
Like he wears green, he's got like the elf ears, he's perpetually young in a lot of the
He never
games.
grows up.
Like he never grows up. That's great.
He's usually from the woods.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. Yeah, I could not think of anything really. Like maybe I can't even think of any monster design that's like terribly
So
Japanese
I could think
inspired.
of a
honestly,
few if I were to like actually go into it and explain it.
Mhm.
But like I could give like some broad strokes. Like the one you're playing right now, Wind Waker, is very Celtic in
yeah,
and like there's some Japanese influences all over the place here and there. Obviously, it's Japan, but
Mhm.
like I'm not gonna go too deep into like say, oh, the Japanese the history of the actual real life Iga clan, because that's just
Yeah.
gonna take too long.
Yeah.
yeah. I was gonna say like the Iga and Shika clans are just the
Yeah,
they're the Iga ninjas and the Koga ninja clan from
Actually,
fucking Warring States Japan. Yeah.
and like
So,
I could go into like how the Octoroks are actually inspired by an actual Japanese mythological
Oh, the
monster.
Kappa. Yeah.
Well, no, that's not them. That's the the original Zoras.
Oh fuck, you're right. You're super right.
The Octoroks are based off a squid that would hurl rocks at oncoming ships that if they didn't pay tribute.
yeah.
Okay, that's great.
So Cipher,
Yeah.
when can the people expect our Let's Play of the best Zelda game, Link's Crossbow
come.
Training?
Well, Wiz,
I'm glad you asked.
here's what I'm gonna do because I don't have a Wii, so I'm gonna get myself some green clothes. I'm gonna dye my hair blonde.
You're gonna
lose
buy a
the-
gun.
I'm gonna lose 10 pounds.
And he's gonna make
I'm
those
gonna
kids
go-
at school fucking pay.
I'm gonna buy a crossbow. And
Just go shoot some children.
oh no,
No, we're not American. We're Canadian.
yeah, we're Canadian.
Speak
That's
for yourself, fuckbag.
I'm gonna go shoot some moose.
Well, I mean, I'm also technically American, so you know.
yeah, it's like
I'm only gonna
actually,
shoot half the
I could go
kids.
shoot a moose, but a moose is like the closest thing you have to a fucking Ganon level threat in Canada.
You mean the 16-wheeler of the North Americas?
pretty
Honestly,
fucking
though-
much?
Shitposting
God.
aside, actually, I
Mhm.
would not mind us like before doing any of like the major ones that we really want to do, like Wind Waker and
Mm-hmm.
Twilight Princess, all this. Do the ones that we've like. Someone do the ones we've never done before amongst us.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, well, I mean, then I have to come on as the assistant
If-
to pay them all.
if we could,
Mhm.
if we could figure out how to make Citra work, I'd totally dig doing Triforce Heroes.
Oh, that'd be
That'd
rad.
be awesome. So, by the way, I feel like here's where a good time to introduce a question time would be. However,
Yeah,
we have 0
Let's
viewers.
do question time.
We have 0 viewers, so I have 2 questions from podcasts throughout the years that I've listened to.
Okay, what are they?
Okay, so first one is from the Giant Bombcast. Is Ryu a wizard? Is he casting Fireball?
In Street Fighter, I think that the fact that the only attack that Ryu has is Fireball kind of negates the notion that he's a wizard.
Yeah.
Well, he could be a wizard that's just casting one Fireball. Now, I will say, he could be a monk who's casting it from his soul. It is coming from
I would like to point
Not the
out that
arcane.
Muscle Wizard exists who can
Yeah.
cast Fist.
Cast
Okay.
fist.
But he's casting it from an energy source of within. That's just his soul, not from the arcane ethereal
Yeah.
plane.
Yeah.
Okay, I should mention
Well, and that-
Ryu is
well, and that
explicitly
plays-
using. Can I just say Ryu is explicitly using Ki, right?
Yeah, so he's a monk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and as we all know, the patron saint of all things fighting, Dragon Ball, Ki is not magic.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, and
also,
that
he
that
is
plays
very-
because
but
Ryu's
here's
just
the
a.
thing. He's saying Hadouken. He's casting it.
Yeah.
Oh, so I guess saying Kamehameha is casting Kamehameha.
Like, okay, but
That's
the thing
fair.
is, I think it's just thinking about this in like purely tabletop terms. And in D&D, you have a component, which in this case would be ki. You have a verbal, which would be saying the name of the attack, and then you have a physical action, and all 3 of those can be components for spells. So it's like the act of charging up and throwing the Hadouken could be the physical component. So it's like you could probably consider him a monk, but you couldn't consider him a wizard.
Yeah. But here's the thing, much like a great magic missile, he also has the Shinku Hadouken. So he also has the upgrade.
That's fair, because yeah, like I'm thinking about this in tabletop terms, so it's like you could use
Me too.
a higher spell slot in order to just cast a better version of it. And in this case, the version of spell slot would be your super gauge.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the answer is no, but he's a monk in D&D.
He's a D&D monk.
Effectively.
Now, again,
Yeah.
from the Giant Bombcast, you're against him. You're standing in an alley. Aside from you is an exact clone of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fight to the death. One of you is given an aluminum bat. The other is given a 6-inch serrated knife. Which do you choose?
I want the knife.
Bat.
I want that.
Range is the meta. There's a reason why the spear is the most common melee
Range
weapon
is the
in
meta,
America.
and a bat is much easier to use.
That's fair.
That and a serrated knife is hard to pull out of a body. If you can get a stab in, but it may get stuck in you.
Yeah, and also,
Okay.
like, you can just power through a stab. I've seen some shit where people don't realize they've been stabbed until afterward. Now, 6 inches
Like-
is a lot. That's fair.
Yeah, but that's why you
Yeah.
go for like. But the thing is that because it's a serrated weapon, it's going to do additional damage when it's in there, or if they try to get it out, or if you try to get it out. So it's like,
DOT.
but you do. But hear me
DOT
out,
from a
hear me out.
serrated knife?
Hear me out. Right? Yes, DOT from a serrated knife. Fuck. So
That's
what you
a
do
new one.
is
That's a good one.
You try to go for like their arm or their side, and then get them to do it in a way that gets them to drop the bat. So the only real problem there is the range of the bat.
But all you're gonna do for the bat is all you gotta do is swing once, no matter where you hit. That's gonna cripple them.
To be fair, it's an aluminum bat, and they don't do a whole lot of damage.
An aluminum
enough.
bat hurts just as much as a steel bat, dude.
Fuck, seriously?
Yeah.
It's metal that is hitting you very hard.
Hmm.
Why did you think like aluminum's just weak from an industrial standpoint?
Okay, that's fair. That's
It's
where I was
still
approaching
metal.
this from.
It's probably gonna crack or bend, but you can
fuck,
still hit
even
someone
out-
with that.
And once it's
even
bended,
wood.
it's sharper now.
Mhm.
you're giving it a
Best
buff.
NPC in the game. The Fishman. I love the Fishman.
Look at
I love how he
this.
talked with his fin.
Look at this Chinese motherfucker.
Whoa.
Yeah.
No, look at that is a Chinese like dragon stereotype. Look at him. He's
Oh,
got.
that's fair. He does look
Because
like a
the
Chinese
thing
guy.
is, I also know myself, and I know that like if I give the clone that knife, I'm gonna die.
That's fair. However, I know myself, and I know what to do with the.
That's fair.
I don't know
No,
what I'm
because
gonna do
my
with this
thing is
knife.
I don't
Am I
have
gonna make
depth
dinner?
perception, so I'm gonna have to get close enough to actually hit the fucker.
Yeah. So yeah, but here's the thing with the bat. Also, it's got the pommel. The pommel's also steel. All you gotta do is one whack, and you're
So
gonna
you're
knock that guy
telling me that I can knock this guy down, take his knife, saw off the pommel, and end myself rightly?
Yep.
out. Yes.
Because yeah, I was thinking about it from the perspective of like, since it's a clone of me, it's a matter of okay, whichever one of us hits the other first is gonna win. So it's like I've got more experience using a knife than I do a baseball bat.
And here's the thing: you could throw a knife. There's a chance you're gonna hit the blunt end. You throw a bat. It's all blunt end, and it's gonna hurt.
Fuck, you're right. You're super right. But the thing is that if they throw the bat, then it's probably not gonna kill me. It's just gonna like cripple me for a
It's
couple of
gonna
seconds.
knock you out, and then they
Yeah.
can run up, grab your knife, and stab you.
You know,
But I
that's-
think that the issue with the knife is specifically that it is a serrated knife.
All right, well, then let's say non-serrated, because I didn't think that would.
That
be a big
actually
factor.
does change some stuff because if you serrate it, like, I mean, like, I'm going to give a shout out to one of the greatest stories ever told, All Quiet on the Western Front. There's
Yep.
in both the book and the movie, there's a scene in which a character whose name I can't recall, essentially he is the veteran of the group,
Oh, yeah, I
fucking
know what you're
beats
talking
the
about.
shit out of a guy for serrating his bayonet because he's a dumbass. Why would you do that? You're getting
Yeah,
it
what a
stuck in
fuck.
people.
God, that movie's amazing.
And the book, but yes,
I
also
haven't read
the
the
movie. The movie is phenomenal as well. I'm just saying, like, I don't fucking serrate your blades if you intend on using them on people.
I don't like you're saying it's an issue. I don't think it's as big of an issue as you're.
yeah, I don't think it's as big of an issue. as
It's
you guys
just
are
like
letting on.
when it's specifically a knife. Like, yeah, it's 6 inches. That's a long blade, but you can power through getting stabbed if you're in a fight for
Yeah.
your life. And if that guy
Adrenaline will
can't
do
get that,
shit to you, but a
Yeah,
concussion
also,
will knock you out no matter what.
But also,
okay.
don't intend on using knives on people. Please.
Don't,
People.
please don't try this
Do
at
it;
home,
it'll be
kids.
awesome.
Don't try this at home, kids.
But before you do, erase this podcast from your history.
Yeah, we
So
don't
it
want-
cannot be
we don't
tracked back
want-
to me.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't
We
want this to
should
get back to me. I
probably
want to be a
erase-
lawyer.
We should probably be erasing the podcast.
Yeah. So the. Oh man, I had a question and I can't remember what it is.
I have one more question. If
Okay.
you,
Okay. What is it?
If you would like. Okay.
Yeah.
You have to cast yourself in your biopic. Who do you cast?
The ghost of John Lennon.
Jonah Hill.
I was gonna say Joe Rogan if I gave him a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Michael
Yes.
Cera.
You see, that's a really tough question because I look like a lot of anime characters, but I can't think of any celebrities that I look like.
Well, who's the
Patrick
status
Poivon.
lesbian you can think of?
Fuck, I mean, honestly, for myself, I'd probably do like very young Mark Hamill.
That's pretty good. Comedian Ed Byrne. Yeah, I think
But like
comedian...
rip off his knees.
I'm not that short.
Get him at the right height.
I'm not that short.
Keep telling yourself that.
You
Wait.
haven't even seen him.
That's the thing.
No,
Yes,
he's
I
seen
have.
me. He's seen me.
Has he?
Yeah, but not like from the waist up,
Yes, I have.
or from the legs up, rather.
That's fair.
Hype, you made that sound really fucking homoerotic.
Oh, do you want to
Hey.
see me from the waist down, big boy?
Yeah, baby.
Oh no,
I'm
no.
sorry,
What
I,
I
couldn't
do?
be,
No,
I wouldn't be able to bend down far enough.
So I have it. I know what it would be. It would be Mike Myers doing Austin Powers.
Yeah, but
No, Mike Myers doing the Love Guru. He already has the hair.
That's fair, but like Austin Powers has the dress sense. So
That's
it's-
fair.
I would like to point
He has
out,
the terrible accent.
I felt like Wiz was one sentence away from slipping into his Austin Powers voice the entire
no,
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. It's
I
very
can't wait.
natural for Wiz.
It's scarily natural.
Wiz, are you sure you're not English?
All right. So
I cannot wait till we do the next one, and I can do my Mr. Burns voice for
Yeah.
Edgeworth.
So to give some context to anyone who may be listening after I post this on the podcast subreddit
Yeah.
and wherever else we're gonna post it, we stream and we've been doing. So I do Phoenix Wright in Persona 3, and Wiz has been doing Sleeping Dogs, and it's been kind of sporadic, but like I'm gonna try to get back into it because we just did Wright last night, and we tend to do it at Tuesdays at 5 EST, and it's been a really good gag dub. I
Yeah.
think like the last one wasn't quite our best, but we were getting back into it. So
It wasn't our
Come and see me
best.
do an awful Russian accent.
Yeah, and come see me. Insist that I must do my robot voice for everything.
oh man, Cameron-kun's the best.
Get ready,
Okay.
get ready for
So-
our week-long Zelda-thon.
Cameron is
I've
the
got-
champ of that stream.
I've got to ask, of the original characters and like jokes that we have, what is your favorite one?
Tie between
Cameron-
Cameron and Incel Max Payne. No,
Incel
Max
Man.
Payne.
Max
Winston.
Payne?
Well, I know what I'm doing for the next game.
No, because like Incel Winston Payne's pretty good. I'm a big fan of the jokes that I came up with. It's easily gotta be not all of us went to Reddit law school, Mr. Payne.
Yep.
You know what it is though? It's like I
Mm.
have been. It's not something that we're necessarily doing. I
Yeah.
love how much we're tripling down on the fact that Old Bag is constantly perjuring herself,
Yes.
obstructing justice, and overall doing shit that in a normal ass court would get her thrown in jail so
Yeah,
quickly.
because like that's every Phoenix Wright character though.
The issue
Um,
is old bags in every.
Oh, I fucking hate
game.
that. I
fucking
don't
game.
understand her popularity whatsoever.
She's not popular. She's in every game because she is not popular.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
They
No, it
wanted,
doesn't
like,
make
a
any
running
sense.
heel.
That's stupid.
No.
They wanted
'cause,
a
like,
running
She's
heel.
the Andy Kaufman of the Phoenix
a
Wright
run-
world.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's like a running gag of like, oh, we fucking hate this character. Guess what? You're gonna have to put up with her.
So
I
it's like
don't
how-
like that.
I don't like that either. It's not great.
So
but
side note, what
so-
the fuck is the deal with this shit?
Oh,
So let me
you
explain.
can't hit him yet because you don't have a bow and arrow.
So
Uh-oh.
Ish
So
said
I
it was
guess just
Cam-
take it.
So Ish said it was Cameron and
Incel Winston Payne.
Incel Payne. Grossberg from
Oh, you
Phoenix
mean
Wright?
you mean
Also,
Uncle Grossberg?
Nazi Mia.
Yeah, Nazi me is pretty strong.
Oh yeah, Nazi Mia. That was,
So-
I'm not even voicing Mia. I just kept pushing that, and no one picked
Yeah.
up on it.
I also think that if we're gonna do one from Persona, it's easily got to be the bullying old people one that I posted from last week's stream, where it's like, yes, the fucking no, I think I titled the clip "Old People Say the Darndest Things," and it's just us doing the old man is like a fucking huge pervert.
It was great. I got
Oh, it
a
was
lot
great.
of fun out of that.
That was really fun. So Keegs, what would you say your favorite joke or thing that we've done so far as a group is? It was even outside of streaming.
That's a good fucking. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah.
My
'Cause,
favorite thing
like,
that Keegan's done is the incomprehensible text in German.
It's-
yeah, that was good.
I
It-
honestly need to watch back and remember what the fuck it was. I think it was just like our constant pushing of in Sleeping Dogs, the constant reminder that there is all signs of crust on Wei's nips because he isn't wearing a shirt.
Yeah, fucking. Oh man, I'll
Wei
never
Shen
forget.
both means false body and crusty ass nips.
No.
Let's also
Everyone,
not
Wei
forget
Shen
motherfucker.
means motherfucker.
Yeah. That's
Also,
a really good
none of us
bit.
are Chinese. You're not allowed to say nips.
Oh fuck.
I'm not
Also,
gonna touch
no,
that one.
I know what my favorite thing Keegan has said is, and it's when we started the podcast, when I introduced him to you guys,
Yeah.
it was the first thing you said was, quote, "I'm Keegan, I'm gonna make Nanking look like some flirtatious
No. It
wordplay."
wasn't that. That was not what happened at all.
No,
What happened then?
No,
What
no,
happened
like,
is that we got into the discussion about the race war starts now.
Yeah.
And he
yeah,
says, if
yeah.
the race war starts now, I'm gonna make Nanking look like some flirtatious. fucking wordplay.
That's right.
Yeah, and he just jumps like, "What's up, motherfuckers? You ready for some racism?"
Some next level racism.
I had to-
Yeah.
Because I was
Oh,
talking about
yeah.
how the Jews will either lose or survive the race war.
Yeah, because they've survived every other race war.
We survived every other thing, but we've been coming out more and more battered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We won against the Romans the one time, and we have a holiday, but that's about it.
So anyway, now that we've discussed that, I think it's a good time to cut it.
I'd say
Yeah,
so.
I think that's about it.
Yeah.
Anything else
Hey.
anyone wants to say?
Oh yeah, I wanted to say. So what are we gonna do for our next episode? Just to give a brief preview of that. Like, what are you guys feeling? 'Cause I think we should get
It'll
job
be a
stories out of the way.
surprise mechanic.
No, fuck surprise mechanics and fuck you too.
Oh.
It's okay, hype. I still love
And cut.
you. No, but so yeah, what do you feel we should do next? 'Cause I'm thinking honestly, get job stories out of the way.
I think job stories would be fun.
Thing is,
Yeah,
I
I
don't think I have enough shit to
Considering-
fucking say on job stories.
I can carry you guys because I
Okay.
worked at a
I have two
McDonald's
jobs that I
and
have enough
almost
stories
died
for.
at another one.
Yeah, and
I think me and Hype alone have enough stories for an entire podcast.
because I've got writing stories and I've got security stories, and I'm not going to talk about the newspaper at all.
I got
might
moving
be-
and bouncing.
all I really have is
I sound like a
reservation-
dance.
All I have is reservations, so
Mhm.
I might not have much to.
One time this
to
person
add
called
there,
me to
but
make a
I'll-
reservation, and they didn't leave me a valid credit card number.
Yeah.
Oh no,
I
I've got
can tell you guys about the time. Oh wait, why would I tell you guys now?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, don't fucking
Well,
blow your
no.
load now.
So I was gonna say, Keegs and I worked one of the same jobs together, but I stayed on long enough to become a supervisor. So he and I probably have somewhat different perspectives, but really mostly the same stories.
You're not the boss of me, but I could have been.
But no, the thing is, he was going to supervise me on one shift that I called out of because I was
Yep.
sick.
Oh,
You're not the boss of me, bitch. I might be.
Bitch, I might be.
All right, so yeah, I think that was good enough.
All
right,
right,
thank
Yeah, and
Thanks
cut
for
it.
watching.
Zelda.